If I can have all the board members make their way to the dais. Board previously met under exception C in closed session, exception C1, C2, C11. With that, if I can have I'd like to call to order the October 24th, 2023 Waukegan Public School Board of Education meeting. If I can have a roll call, please.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah, she's presenting. Yeah, sure.
Here.
Present.
Ms. Lindsay?
Present.
Ms. Hannah? Yes. Ms. Fabian?
Present.
President Ewing?
Here. Next up, I'd like a motion to resume open session.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Riddle, second by Ms. Gonzalez. All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. We are now in open session. Ms. Callahan Wozniak, if you'd be so kind as to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So just a brief president's report. I want to thank all of you all for coming out this evening. We have a ton of things moving. So the board did meet in closed session as we are in the process of reviewing goals. So the superintendent has already stated that based on that discussion, those goals will be sent out to all the board members. So please be looking out for those and make sure that you provide the necessary feedback as we move that process forward. Other than that, I will forsake the rest of my time to allot it to Mr. Hinojosa. So, Mr. Hinojosa, Student Board Member Report, item 6B.
Thank you, President Ewing. Is this on?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Hi, everyone. This is my 13th Student Board Member Report. Lord, it's been 13 already. Next slide, please. Next slide. Today's statement will be about bystanders and upstanders. Excuse me. Next slide, please. Our quote for today comes from President John F. Kennedy. We will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. And this quote, from my own research and stuff like that, I feel is very important to student population, as being the difference between being a bystander and an upstander is very critical to being a citizen of the United States, or just being an activist for that sense. Being able to understand what happens outside in the world, what happens at home and abroad is important, and remembering that if we stay silent, it's just as someone that does do something. Silence is complicit. And I feel that as students in this district, sometimes we may not say stuff because someone tells us this, someone tells us that, we can't say this because you're a snitch, et cetera, et cetera. But I do want to state to students that just because someone says you can't say this, you can't say that because of repercussions, that shouldn't be a reason. If you see something wrong, you should say something. As the district and the superintendent states many times, if you do see something, you should say something. As it is important to understand that being silent is being complicit in actions. Even though you had nothing to do with it, just you being silent helps in the mission of someone that did something wrong. And just, even in President's words, it's the same thing. If we hear it from one person but not hear it from another, it is still the same thing. It's still equal. But that is my statement for today. Next slide, please. Community Spotlight. I did not have any meetings in the last 2 weeks, so we will just go straight to that. We do have a coat drive for the ROTC program sponsored by the Color Guard and the Drum Corps, which is from November 13th to December 8th. If anybody has any old coats, sweatshirts, anything of that nature and does want to donate, please do. Honestly, other details of this program will be coming out in the next few days. It's still, the details are still trying to be hammered out, but obviously these are the dates, and on the social medias of the high school and stuff like that will be posted, so please keep a lookout for that. Next slide, please. The Golden Apple. A few months ago, I did talk about the Golden Apple in one of my presentations, but the application has opened again. For students or anybody in college that doesn't know what the Golden Apple is, it's obviously a teacher assistance program sponsored by the Golden Apple, which basically helps students that want to pursue education and teaching with the necessary funding, mentorships, student teaching, and job placement. Illinois is a recipient of that too, so if students do want to, in their senior year or seniors this year, or anybody else, junior or sophomores that may think of wanting to pursue a career in education and teaching, this is a great opportunity. And people that are in college, absolutely, this is still an opportunity for sophomores and freshmen, if I'm correct. So you can go to thegoldenapple.org/scholars to find more information. Next slide, please. The Haunted House. Yes, this is one of the things the Walk Dogs and the Drama Club is doing this year. It is Thursday, October 26th at the Trop Auditorium from 5 to 8. $7 tickets sold at Brookside. Obviously, the Haunted Halloween is a event that we do every single year, which is Haunted Hallway and other events and stuff that we do at the high school. It is pretty fun. I did go last year. Really, really fun. And for any students or anyone on the board or the community that wants to go, here it is. And I feel like it'll be a great opportunity for anybody that wants to spend a little time in the Halloween spirit. Next slide, please. And that is my presentation for today. If the board has any questions, comments, concerns, this is the time.
I have some comments or questions. For the haunted house, what ages would this be appropriate for possibly?
For my own recollection, I would say anyone from middle school to high school, but obviously if your 5th graders or 4th graders are up to the challenge for like a little bit spooky season, I would say if they want to, they totally can, but I would say usually it's from middle school to high school.
Okay, perfect. So I won't bring my kindergartner.
Yeah, more or less, but obviously there are other activities done there too, so obviously if that's not the only thing, but if you do want to, do the little festivities for Halloween, obviously this is a great opportunity. Anybody else?
Yeah, where you gonna drop? Where's your coat drop off gonna be at? And you got that.
If I'm correct, obviously it's still in the works of where that's going to be located, but if I'm correct, it will be at Brookside and the Washington campus, but I still need final confirmation. But from what I've heard specifically, that's the 2 places it's most likely going to be.
Okay,
And
I don't want to interrupt you.
No, yeah, I was just gonna get back to my time, but yes.
Oh, there was one more piece. For the beginning, with your statement and the see something, say something, I just want to encourage our students to know that if you don't feel comfortable inserting yourself in the direct thing that you're seeing, you don't have to necessarily say something to those individuals. You can go to a trusted adult and explain what you saw and get feedback there, because sometimes we're going to see something that we don't know how to handle, and it's okay to ask for help, and someone else can circle back to that situation.
Absolutely.
And my only question, Mr. Hinojosa, was Q1 is now over, right? So how would you say Q1 is going?
I would say that the first quarter for the school year has gone great. Obviously, I do speak for myself, but obviously I have seen throughout the high school and from my sister that is in middle school, they have told me and their friends and my friends that it's been a really good first quarter. And we do see ourselves doing as great the next quarter and the next ones beyond that.
Thank you, Mr. Hinojosa. All right. Thank you. Next up on our agenda as we are moving along is our special recognition. No 60 and 60? I thought we had one. Okay. All right. We have our Waukegan Schools Foundation.
Good evening, everybody. Would all the foundation board members, including our superintendent, please come to the podium. And this is one of my favorite times of the year that we honor all teachers who think outside the box. And so Caroline and Fabian is our go-to lady, along with Charlotte, Adriana. Everybody contributed. Nick, please. No? Okay. On that, I'm going to turn it over to Caroline and Fabian. Sorry, superintendent.
Hello. So I am the secretary for the foundation, and this is actually one of the most exciting times for me because I completely enjoy doing the educator grants. So if we can move to the next slide, you can see who all is part of our foundation. Mr. Grimes is our president. Mr. Lewis is our treasurer. I'm the secretary. Ms. Shar has graciously stayed on to be a member. I know it's a lot of work. And then Adriana is also a board member along with myself. And Nick Alexakis is our executive director. And then we have some members that could not be present today: Lisa Meggs, James Henry, Josue Pacias, and Andrea Flores. So you can, next slide. Marta Padilla, sorry. And usually she's here for everything. So this year we put out the educator grants. So staff, all teachers were sent out email notices, and we continue to remind them that there was an opportunity for a grant of up to $1,000 in order to expand and enhance their curriculum. And so with that, we had them apply over the summer and the spring so that we can give them out earlier in the year for them to complete it this year. And so this year we were able to award over $8,700 for projects ranging from STEM activities to reading fluency. And so this is open to all preschool to 12th grade. And we had a committee that looked over the grants, and we based them on a rubric of originality, how many students it would affect, the enrichment value, and again, how it would benefit our students. Next slide, please. And so today we're here to award the grant winners and just highlight these are, I really want to congratulate all the teachers who applied. These are the ones who won, and I want to say that this is extra additional above and beyond work on their behalf to do this. We try to make the application process as simple as possible, but again, this is extra work on their behalf to seek funds to do additional supplementary things with their students. So I'm very happy to present these awards. Unfortunately, Ms. Sonmez and Ms. Phillip are not here to get their award, but they applied on behalf of the National Honor Society at the high school. And I do know this individual is here, Sir Dr. Jose Arregui.
All right.
And this is his second year winning the award. So thank you, and his is for using authentic evaluation at the 10th grade level.
How much? Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Caroline, how much are the grants for?
$1,000.
A piece?
So up to $1,000 a piece, they can choose from any range. So they have to submit a budget. And then Miss Duda, who I've had the pleasure of working with before, she is always going above and beyond, and she created her grant for the Purple, Green, and Gold Garden. So we'll be looking forward to that. Miss Brianna Hudson said she could not make it tonight. She has a previous engagement, unfortunately, but she is doing computer science engagement and promotion projection. I'm really excited to see what those kids create, and she is over at Brookside. And this individual is here in Simeon Viltz. This is not his first time around.
All right.
So we thank you for your work, and it's for Master Cosmos and over at Brookside as well, right? Congratulations. David Godbold for Arisa's Garden, if we want to switch to the next slide, and he's over at Glen Flora. Sharon McDaniel is going to do a STEM sensory garden over at Little Fort.
Nice.
And she's actually including all grade levels at Little Fort. And Miss Jans is, Cheryl Jans is awarded for Special Olympics over at Juarez.
Lewis or Warren?
So this will be the second year that they're doing Special Olympics.
Lewis or Warren?
Oh, sorry, Lewis,
Okay.
I'm sorry. She used to be at Juarez, sorry. And Abbott and Oakdale, yeah. She's been around a minute. And then Mr. Green, if you've been following him with his greenhouse over at Lewis as well, he's going to expand his program to keep cooking in the greenhouse.
All right.
And his child had a game, so he could not be here tonight. Cindy Stockman is awarded for the Tiger Lego Club at Juarez. Eva Cheta is going to create a kindergarten plant garden.
Oh, that's cute.
and she is over at North. And those are our awardees. And just so you are aware as to what the foundation does, apart from doing these yearly teacher grants, we also do the Bulldog Strong, the Waukegan Strong, scholarships for our graduating seniors. So look for that towards January. We'll start announcing for applications. And Miss Adriana Gonzalez will speak more on that as that comes closer. We also are a flow-through for special projects of the district. So if you're looking to donate or you would like to help with a special project, you can contact the foundation. And then we also help to procure tangible donations to distribute district-wide. And so we have up there, in case you are willing to donate, the different ways that you may. Facebook is one. We are part of that giving button. So if you choose us to be your charity of choice, you can. eBay is another one that you can choose us to be your charity of choice. PayPal, the QR code is up there. And with that PayPal QR code, you can donate not just through PayPal, but also using your debit or credit card. We also take checks the old school way. You can mail them in or cash. So those can be sent into Mr. Brian Luosa here at the district office. So thank you, everyone, and congratulations. We want to.
Before you go all the way, excuse me, I just want to announce that Ms. Rita Tate's here, that we got a $750,000 grant for the wraparound center, and with her expertise and everything else, we really appreciate it. And it came through us. We're a 501c3 flow-through organization. We have a tax-exempt number for anybody that wants to contribute. Thank you.
Board, if we can stand up, they want to take a picture. Oh, we want to shift down.
Oh, I feel like Mr. Alasaka should be in this picture. I mean, I feel like Dr. Nald or maybe Mr. Zucco.
I have routine expertise. All right, everyone look and smile on 3. 1, 2, 3. Keep smiling. Perfect. All right.
Was Mr. Hinojosa saying?
He stood up in the back.
Next time, sneak up.
Shower, what you doing?
Push me over.
She's staying
Oh,
busy, let me tell you. Oh my gosh, she's always busy. Always busy.
Thank you.
How you been?
We certainly appreciate the partnership between the foundation and the school district, and we are glad to see the teacher grants return. And thank you for supporting our teachers and our staff. And we want to continue to support them so that they can grow and continue to do more. All right, we are now at approval of previous minutes. So we have item 8A, approval of the minutes of the special open session board meeting, September 27, 2023.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Riddle,
Second.
second by Ms. Gonzalez. Any comments or questions on the motion? Corrections to the minutes? All in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Minutes are approved. 8B, approval of the minutes of the special open session board meeting for October 16, 2023.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Riddle. Do we have a second? Second by Ms. Hannah. Any comments, questions, corrections to the minutes? All in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Minutes are approved. We now have our opportunity for public comment. I'm going to call names 3 at a time. I'm going to ask that you all get queued up to help expedite it. Just a reminder of civility. We also want to remind you to refrain from mentioning student and staff member names in your remarks. If you need translation services will be provided to you, and you will receive an additional 3 minutes for a total of 6 minutes to allow for translation. First 3 names are Ray Vukovic, Elizabeth Owens, and Maria Owens. Whenever you start speaking, your time will begin.
Yes, hi, good evening. I've got 3 items I'd like to address tonight. 2 of them are on the agenda, the first being number 19C. I see under old business, you're going to talk about Ghostlight Productions again at Lyon School, which was something I thought was a no-brainer 2 weeks ago when the majority of the board voted it down, and I still support it, but I'm questioning the mechanism that you're bringing this back up. It just shows up under old business, And according to your rules, you follow Robert's Rules of Order, has to be brought up by somebody who was on the prevailing side. So there were 4 of you that could make a motion to reconsider it. You could have done it at the last meeting. You have that opportunity to do that tonight. That's the way you should be doing it, not just, otherwise every time a motion's voted down, somebody's going to sneak something on the agenda and try it again. So, I would hope you'd follow that. Number 20A, you've got engagement of legal counsel for an investigation for $40,000. You've got a legal department. You've got 2 people in your legal department. Between their salaries and their benefits, they're over $500,000. Last year, $435,000 went to private law firms, of which $325,000 went to the firm that you want to hire tonight, which both of those individuals that are full-time employees at one time were affiliated with that firm. So I would think that there are plenty of law firms, certainly in Waukegan and Lake County, that you should be reaching out to that might be able to do that kind of work if indeed it's necessary to do that work. But if you got 2 people here making that kind of money, why aren't they doing that? That's my question there. And then my last item, I had submitted a FOIA, got it on time. I have to give them credit for that. It's an item that I've been bringing up before. It's about substitute teachers. And I picked a day and time. I think it was October 11th. Wanted to know how many long-term subs the district had that day. Do you have any idea the number? 90. 90. That's 8% of your teaching force are by long-term subs. And the FOIA also provided, I asked how many of those were certified retired teachers. 1. 1. So, we've been talking about reaching out to retired teachers, bringing them back, trying to treat them. You've got a pool of people out there that if you talk to and deal with and pay them the way that they should be paid and treat them like the professionals they are, they'd come back. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bukovic. Elizabeth Owens?
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Owens. I am a freshman at Brookside campus, and I would like to stress my concern about the fact that you hired a teacher almost 3 months into the school year and is given this teacher all of the honors classes for the World History Civ class and taking the classes from the teachers. Yes, I understand that the teachers took it up because there wasn't a teacher for it, but some of these teachers were actually doing a very good job of teaching the students. My teacher, he was helping us be able to learn in fun ways, and I'm finding out that the new teacher is planning on doing just Chromebook activities. That is not a way to learn. When we're doing that, it's just us looking at a screen the whole time. It's not us physically learning different things. And I am very concerned because I don't do well with learning on computers. And I'm not very okay with the fact that you gave a new teacher who you just hired all of the honors classes. Out of how many teachers that had them? I can understand giving the teacher some of the regular classes and some of the honors classes. I have some of my teachers who have both honors and regulars. But you're taking all of the honors classes from the teachers that were willing to take it. One of my teachers who you took the honors class from is actually very disappointed with the fact that you did that. And I'm very disappointed in the fact that you did that. Because one, you're wanting us to be able to learn. When it's hard to learn when you're just wanting us to do Chromebooks. A lot of kids work easier on paper due to the fact that the teachers can interact better than on Chromebooks, because most kids on tests and things like that, they just look up the answers off of Google. When it's on paper and things like that, for different things, It helps the students be able to learn and remember the activity that they had learned from. Instead of always having Chromebook activities, and I'm very disappointed with the teacher wanting to have only Chromebook, because that is not a way to learn at all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Owens. Whenever you start speaking, your time will begin, Ms. Owens.
My name's Maria Owens, as you heard, my daughter. Just a moment ago. On October 9th, we received a message from her World Civ teacher informing all the students and parents that the district has hired a new teacher and that he will no longer be teaching those students. At the parent-teacher conference that was just last week, I found out he actually had this class that she's in about 2 to 3 weeks ahead of schedule because he's doing stuff on paper and pencil. And he goes, all the students are actually learning. He also made the same statement to me that he actually makes Monday through Thursday, let's work as hard as we possibly can, get all our work done, and then Fridays, we can have fun Fridays, but we'll still be learning things. I thought that was very innovative, actually making the kids try to work. And they're also 2 to 3 weeks ahead, and he's only doing a lot of the work 4 days during the week. That's impressive. And you're taking his honors class away from him. He is struggling with some of his other classes because they don't want to learn in those classes, or he has some of the trouble students. At least giving one of them per teacher an honors class helps give them a little bit of a break. They're still teaching, but at least they have a little bit of a break. They can be able to sit there and have some other kids. With them just learning on Chromebooks from this new teacher, I know my daughter's not going to be learning. I know I'm going to be fighting with her every single day to get her work done. I have not yet said a word to my child on her World Civ class. Other classes, yes, because what is it? It's all on Chromebook. She's excited to go to his class. She honestly has now made the statement, she doesn't even know if she wants to continue in Waukegan. If we can move, Mom, can we? Can I just move down towards my grandma and grandpa? After her year so far this year, that tore to my heart. She has had the worst past quarter that I can imagine with the public school. I am tired of it. I'm going to start speaking out, and I'm gonna start coming to these meetings because I'm tired of it. And you guys have to hear from her what is going on. It's ridiculous.
Thank you, Ms. Owens. Next 3 names, believe this is, and if I mispronounce it, is it Marlon Hernandez, Randy Sabecki, and Danilo Villarreal.
Good afternoon. My name is Marlon Hernandez. I'm here for the agenda 20V for the approval of a facility rental. I'm here as a parent, as a helper of the coach that it's with our kids 3 days a week. And I just want you guys to, whatever decision you guys are making for the approval, these are the goals that we have for our kids. We have our coach that is not receiving any single benefit out of spending time with our kids, dedicating, having them. We do have a family that it's, that little boy did not want to play anymore because he said he didn't have funding to continue. He didn't have he didn't feel safe going back home and spending the rest of the afternoon after school at his house. And we are trying to keep this team, since we have been having them since little, together and continue to do it. They are really hardworking kids. They have been winning trophies constantly, showing them respect to others, showing them they're all attendees of Waukegan Public Schools. So I'm just here to show you guys that it is really considered, and we're really in need of this funding to be approved so we continue having these practices in the district. It shows them coordination, discipline, and they're looking forward to those 3 days. 2 hours that we have there, it's amazing. You see their faces, how they're changed, how they're looking forward to having those 2 hours to spend with the coach, and none of us is paying anything to him. And he's there, and he's also a resident of the Waukegan district. Okay? Thank you.
Ms. Hernandez. Randy Specky.
Good evening. There's a couple things I want to discuss tonight. Mr. Vukovic talked a little bit about the first one, which was 28, legal counsel. With this district, like you said, we're the county seat. There's law firms everywhere. If we are going to hire outside legal counsel for this district, they should be to have a fair and independent investigation of whatever they're investigating. They should have no ties to anyone within this district or employed by this district. That's what fair and independent investigation is. It should not be a firm that someone worked for that's within our district. There's millions of lawyers out there that does this, and they should not be affiliated, again, with anyone in our district. That is fair and an independent investigation. Number two, I got a message the other day from the bullying department, I won't say her name, but it said last year we had 130 or 150 bullying incidents within our district. I'd like to know, where do we get that number from? Because I remember when you guys presented up here, that number up there said 0. So where did we come up with 130 to 150? We don't even know where these numbers are coming from. You guys ain't even reflecting what you guys put up on these screens. Like, we don't go back and look. We don't remember. And that's what the thing is. Like, we have so many students in this district, teachers, staff, and everyone. How can we have no bullying incidents within our district? And now we get a text saying last year we had 130 to 150 bullying incidents. So I'm just curious where we come up with the number. Next, I do want to give kudos after all the OSHA violations that I did bring up at Benny that does impact our students. I'm glad to see that was taken care of. And that 6th grade hallway looks beautiful now, freshly painted. And now our kids have a place to be proud of, to learn. So I want to thank how fast, after I brought that up, that was fixed. Next thing, I just want to remind the board, under Open Meetings Act, that based on the Open Meetings Act, that is very limited to what could be left out and be talked about in closed session. Personnel matters, student matters, definitely. Finances is not one of those. So if there are any finances, I just want to throw it out there. That's supposed to be done in open meeting. Also, and I'm going to keep bringing this up, Superintendent, you do have a staff ID, right? Yesterday, today, you had someone else scan you through these doors. Again, these doors are put in there for a reason. If I want a FOIA, who goes through these doors? It won't show up because everyone keeps letting you in.
Thank you, Mrs. Becky. Danella Villarreal. You can start the clock.
Really? I think that's against protocol. It starts when I start speaking. Trust. Trust means that you rely on someone else to do the right thing. You believe in the person's integrity and strength to the extent that you're able to put yourself on the line at some risk to yourself. Trust is essential to an effective team because it provides a sense of safety. It enables the development of welcoming, engaging, and positive learning environments where everyone in the school building can thrive. Your stakeholders no longer have trust in this board and in this administration and the people that have been selected very strategically. So I am going to stand here and ask everyone that's listening, that's watching, to have courage, to stand up, come to these meetings and speak. All the parents, all the community members of Waukegan, every voter, please come and speak up. Every student out there has a voice, and they should be able to speak without fear, intimidation, or retaliation. And until those things are removed, we're going to still have a problem. They don't trust you to be safe. So I'm asking you to stand up, stand outside of the box. Come and speak like this student spoke here today. Tell your story. Parents, come and support your child and their story, because they are going to be the future. They are the leaders. And we have adults that are not being fair, equitable, or inclusive, quite actually discriminative. You need to be here. And I'm going to keep coming and urging until this place is packed and we have too many people that need to speak. Not them, the public, the stakeholders. We cannot teach these kids to have courage if the adults are not showing by example. Have the courage to speak up. Have the courage to come here. We have one student today. We have another one that's saying to his students that he is a peer to have the courage and speak up. This should be your safe place to speak without any retaliation.
Thank you, Ms. Villarreal. Next name, 3 names are Helen, I'm gonna call you Miss A. So Miss A, Rayon Edwards, and Anthony McIntyre.
I've been in this district. This is my 19th year in the district. I've been here in May, and I've asked help from the school board. I've asked for a meeting. I did have a meeting, and I need another meeting with the school board members and the superintendent in executive session. Dismissal is the hardest sanction which can be imposed on an employee. In school districts, dismissal occurs when the Board of Education acts on the recommendation of the management team. In this case, it's the administration, which includes the principal, area superintendents, so forth and so. You listen to your management team. I come here, I watch, and a lot of people are speaking, but I don't think you're listening. In fact, I believe that you're ignoring them. And last week and this week, we were talking about bullying. The different types of bullying. There is bullying, physical, there's verbal, and there's this new one called relational bullying. And that is spreading rumors, reputations, just ruining people's lives. I've asked for the meeting, and I'm still waiting. Since the pandemic, I have been bullied and harassed in this district. Bullied and harassed. It appears to me all of you are ignoring me, and I want to know why. Why? You had the Waukegan Foundation do their presentation. And some of us in this room and some of us who are watching probably don't know this, but I was one of those people who received one of those grants years ago. I was also one of those people who received monetary, I think it was about $100 for having my scores up high in my classroom with math scores. I've had young authors in my classroom. I've had people go to the spelling bee. I have gone to school. I even earned a gifted endorsement, teaching the gifted program. How many teachers in this district have gifted education? I just want to know why. And this month is breast cancer awareness. I'm wearing pink. I have survived cancer twice. So if you want to fire me, you go ahead and do that. But I will not be pushed out in this district. And I have seen a lot of people being pushed out. Shame on this district. You need teachers. I had a student tell me they didn't know what a writing prompt because they had a substitute teacher.
Thank you, Ms. A. Rayon Edwards.
Good evening, people, community, board. Disappointed in you tonight, Mr. Ewan. I seen you do something, and that was totally disregard this woman. We have to stop that as leaders. You have a policy, you have a rule that time starts when a person starts speaking. We don't get to pick and choose when we use that rule. We talked earlier about the lawyers being paid. And I want everybody to listen to me and everybody that's watching. This is how they steal. This is how they steal. This is how they steal. Y'all know damn well, excuse my language, that y'all have no business hiring no firm that y'all recruited these lawyers from. It's disgusting. It's bad business. It's bad practice. Ain't no transparency in that. None. We in the school. Months already passed. We have no contract. But I'm looking on this agenda under consent agenda A, C, D, E, F, G, H, J, and N. We finna approve for y'all to go travel. So y'all just gonna bend us over and just keep on tearing a lining up out of us, huh? And it's becoming so disrespectful that y'all not even trying to hide it no more. And each one of y'all up there act like y'all don't see this. I'm educated, baby. I'm very smart. I know sometimes perception may have you all over the place, but please don't kid yourself. I mean that. I don't need nobody to tell me anything. I can sit down, shut up, and listen. Y'all are clumsy. That school board member, student member, said if you see something, say something. All of y'all knew about a Madam Patty, but none of y'all said nothing. And still ain't saying nothing. But y'all are the leaders. We got y'all in charge of our district, so I'm saying to all of y'all, we missed the beat the last time. We got 1 out of 3. We need to act like we want to act like we gonna get more this time. We keep accepting this. What is wrong with you teachers? It's unfortunate that retaliation is a thing. Just like y'all gonna retaliate because we talking about board policy E under new business. Who do y'all think y'all is to tell us what we can do in our meeting? This our meeting. This meeting is held for the community. Again, if any of y'all know anything, the superintendent and the lawyer work for y'all. Y'all don't work for them. Act like it, please.
Anthony McIntyre. We can, and I apologize, and I'm gonna say it. I wasn't trying to disrespect you, Ms. Villarreal.
No.
Okay, then I'll go ahead, Mr. McIntyre. Go ahead, Mr. McIntyre. Start the clock. Go ahead. Start the clock.
The kids watching y'all.
Thank you for that reminder, and I apologize. Can we pause that? I'm gonna take a breath. Can you restart this time, please? Go ahead, Mr. McIntyre.
I'll say that again. The kids watching y'all. Every last one of you. What I wanted to speak to was the staff members in the district continuously putting your hands on kids. It almost seems like every time we have a board meeting, the hope is that whatever happened in the last board meeting is just gone. It disappeared. And it didn't, because there are parents around here who still feel some kind of way about what happened to their kid. And they're hoping that you guys have a memory and you won't just let it go. There's bullying that's going on. I want to echo something that's been said here a few times, and the bullying is happening by staff members against kids. You have a student back here, Elizabeth, brave as all outdoors, to come up here and stand in front of all you adults and all the cameras and whatnot. She comes and does it, right? Speaks pretty firm. I've had conversation with her. I happen to be an advocate for her and her family. This is a student who's been bullied as a result of being put in front of SROs by staff and told that if she doesn't speak to certain information, that this is what's going to happen to her. Yet she still is here. That's pretty brave of her to do. I don't know why she needs at her age to have that type of bravery, but I'm glad that she did. And she's continuing to come. And her mother is showing exactly what should be done by a parent. I love it. That SRO situation needs to be addressed. I haven't seen that it was. I'm sure somebody will say that it's a personnel matter, so you can't talk about it. Okie doke is what I call that. We need to be told what's going on around here when it comes to what's happening with these young people. You can't just pick and choose the pretty information that you put out. That's not okay. I was under the impression, policy-wise, that when something is spoke about up here at the podium, even though you guys aren't supposed to speak back and forth with us, that someone from the administration is going to address the issue. And we'll have that information told us before we leave, and somebody will catch us. Last 3-4 times that I've been up here, no one has spoken to me about the things I've addressed. Not one staff member. What do I take from that? Is it happening with some people but not Anthony McIntyre? Is it personal? I don't know what to take from it, because when all is said and done, I feel like my voice should be just as strong as anybody else's. We all are equal, right? Or is that just talk? Insofar as this money that's being spent for this investigation or whatever it's for, it's a weird dynamic to me. I've been working on budgets for a while here, and there's monies that's supposed to be allocated for certain things. I'm picking it up. Why don't you spend the money that's supposed to be used for what it's used for?
Thank you, Mr. McIntyre.
Thank you.
If we can get the agenda back on the screen. Thank you to all of those who made public comment. Next item is the consent agenda. Any board member can request that any of these items can be voted on separately. Would any member like to vote on any of these items separately? Just state the letter.
K, L, M, N, and O. Separate from the O and I.
I'm sorry, Ms. Hannah.
All of those separated from the other, from A, C, D, E, F, G, H, J, and all them separate.
All right, so
Not separate items.
understood. So what I'm gonna do is ask for a motion to approve items A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I want to confirm, did you include I in that one, or you want to do I on the other one?
And everything.
I
A,
and
A, C, D,
and N.
wait,
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, and N, correct?
no, you misunderstood, Board President.
So you want to, correct, so you want to vote on the two, and I understand how you're grouping them. So what I'm trying to do is, when we take the first motion will be to approve items A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, and N.
No,
That is a
There's
collective,
some-
but separately.
Yeah.
no. Remove B.
I gotta take, so I'm getting you guys to understand, so I get what you're saying. Do you want them each separate, or do you want them in two
No, she
groups?
just doesn't want B in that first lump group.
I don't think that's what she's saying.
Yes,
No, that is what she's
So
saying.
you only want B voted on separately?
No.
Take
There,
remove
the
B
letters
from
that
group.
Miss Hannah wanted were confused in the list that you just said. That's the only
Just
thing.
take out B from that group.
Yeah.
So B, you're
Leave
fine
B
with,
in.
Ms. Hannah, so leave B
Mhm.
in.
Yeah.
And when I say leave it in, I'm trying to get you guys the motion.
I
So
wanna
because it's a
remove.
consent agenda,
Can we write them down?
yeah, go ahead, Ms. Hannah, if you want to read it, and you can make the motion to approve the first item, so we can vote on it separate.
Next, it's not.
I would like the items grouped together.
Correct.
A, C, D, E, F, G, H, J, all of them together. And then the rest of them all together.
Motion to approve exactly the items that Ms. Hannah just stated.
Items A,
C.
C,
A, C,
D,
D,
E, F, G,
G,
H,
H,
and J.
J. Correct.
So we got a motion from Mr. Riddle,
Second.
second from, who was that, Mr. McBride?
Yes.
Any comments or questions on the motion?
Yeah, I am sticking with my belief that we are at the point where professional development needs to take a break, and we really need to see the results of all of the professional development that we have approved prior to this meeting. And until excuse me, and I'm just one person, till I can see results and benefits from the children, from all of the professional development that that has been done, then I cannot support professional development at this time. We're almost $500,000 in professional development at this time, and it's a lot of money. I'm not saying that there's not new innovations throughout education, but we also should be able to identify if it's beneficial for students. And so at this time, that's my comment.
Question,
Go ahead, Mr. McBride.
would that include triple I as well?
No, triple I is not on there. Triple I is for the Board of Education. And there's a distinction regardless of what people believe. There's a distinction. Boards of education are supposed to go on professional development, but this is excessive, and there's no reporting back to the board, to the public, as to the benefit that this is having for our students. There's some, but as a whole, right now it's just not working.
Miss Gonzalez, and then
Yeah,
I'll come back to you. She had her hand up, Mr. McBride.
Yeah, I have 2 points to that. I would be in favor, Miss Hannah, because I hear what you're saying. I would be in favor of just verifying whether, because I know some of these conferences are for like counselors and like school counseling and all these things. As long as it doesn't interfere with the hours of professional development that some professionals need for their licensure, I'm okay with cutting back. But I think to my second point, I'm hearing from the community, right, that we need to lead by example. I've been trying to do that by not going on as many conferences. I also just don't have that kind of PTO for my job. So I would be in favor of reassessing the professional development if that came with the caveat that the Board of Education only goes to our triple I conference, no cube, no, and we go to our Licks division meetings. Okay, well, I don't think it's fair then, right?
There's a distinction, and see, and that's where we've gotten into trouble in our district now, because we have been minimized in our authority and in our position. And I'm talking 28 years worth of experience. We have been diminished in our authority. And what we do is different from what the administration does, what the teachers do. We're different. You understand? And we are the ones that has always went on professional development. See, we're the lay people. You understand? Lay people. And so the state board, ISB, they understand that. And that's how come there is a distinction. See, we have been, the roles of the board has been diminished for whatever reason. And you can kind of tell because of the atmosphere. And so I'm just saying, it's me. I am one person.
Right.
You understand? And that is that's my belief, and I'm speaking through, not off the top of my head, not through emotion, but through experience, through my tenure.
Mr. Ewing.
Mr. McBride and then Ms. Fabian.
Well, I just want to say that we're getting a lot of feedback from the public in reference to what we're speaking about right now. Waste of money and money not being useful that's benefiting the kids. But let me say this. Every time I go to a conference, I'm not there by myself. I'm there with probably every school district in Illinois for the same reason, to learn.
That's Illinois.
And not just Illinois, all the states, but we're all there for the same reason. That's to learn.
That's right.
And we're there to learn, to do things better, to make things better, and get ideas and suggestions for the purpose of the children.
That's right.
And not just me as a school board member. When I'm there, there's counselors there. There's individuals from child development there. There's other superintendents there. So we're all there to learn. So I think it's beneficial to everybody in this district that's in the classroom, that's doing anything to educate our children, to make our children, give our children a better life. If it's going to, for me, if it's going to help them and develop them and give them ideas and skills to help them move our kids forward, I don't see it, but I understand that the public is saying that we're spending money on too much money for conferences for our staff. But again, like I said, throughout the state of Illinois, what we're doing is no different than any other district, and that is trying to get our staff there to learn.
Ms. Fabian.
Just a couple of things. I want to clarify that ISB does not have a distinctive policy that board members should go on conferences. That's not what they regulate. So I just want to make that clear. I myself, as an ISB staff member, was sent to a national conference because when you are at that higher level of administration, there is no one above you to really give you that professional development, and you have to seek resources outside of your agency. So I believe in training our administrators, and if they are coming back, and that's why we've asked for them to put the rationale in why they're going, how this is going to benefit our district. But I also see that we are sending counselors and teachers and a mix of staff. And again, I fully believe that sometimes you do have to go outside of what you know. If what we know is Waukegan and we're saying what we're doing here isn't working, let's go outside and look for other ideas. I think that's what we need to do. But I just wanted to make it clear that there's not a regulation that separates what boards should do, what admin should do when it comes to going on conferences as far as ISB's concerned.
It's
So-
I'm sorry that you misunderstood what was said. I didn't say that they had any kind of distinction in terms of what we do and all that stuff. So you misunderstood what I said. Anyway, with the amount of money, and this is a continuation, Mr. President, the amount of money that our administration it has for salaries, and they came to us with glowing resumes. There should be people here in the district that could give professional development. There's people here, right here. What about using Roe?
So
Roe has a newly formed hub. We talk about SEL. There's a whole hub right here in Lake County that could teach schools, and many of the schools do use Roe for SEL training, for other trainings. That's why we have a regional office of education. And aside from that, I am concerned about the time that is spent outside the school district during work hours with the staff shortages. We need staff right here and in the schools to maybe take classes where there's no teacher or no substitute. Take a class, go back into the classroom, help the children. So, like I said, I'm one person, and as you all can see, there's already differences of opinions, but that's okay. And so I'm just saying that in light of dollars and cents, we have got to start watching our spending. Money's going to be gone in a minute. What's going to happen when we have to go back out for TALs, for future, we have to spend future monies to make payroll, pay bills, you know. And I'm not reactive, never been a reactive person. I've always been a proactive person. So, with that being said, call for the vote.
No, ma'am. I should be able to share just like every other board
Oh,
member.
yeah, go ahead. I thought you was ready to
So,
call for the vote.
my concern, as we make these blanket statements, every board member up here voted for our budget. All of these items were budgeted and approved by this Board of Education. We have one of the best finance departments in the state of Illinois. And when we talk about these, I'm all for taking a fiscally conservative approach. I've said that there isn't an enormous amount of money. But when I look at these individuals that are going to these conferences, for example, Lion Magnet, Leader in Me, One Goal Leadership, National School Counseling Leadership, we talking about career and technical and vocational education training, which are things that this board has advocated for. It seems short-sighted to me to remove these opportunities from staff members that have already been budgeted. If the board or any board member wants to put forward a policy conversation and consideration for us to change the policy on travel, then we can have that conversation. But as of right now, I think it's unfair to move and stop these individuals from taking part in these opportunities that they've planned for, that they've advocated for, that have been approved by multiple tiers of sign-offs and are now being presented to the Board of Education, that were presented at the board meeting or student achievement last week. So I again, should we want to look at and re-examine? We talked about putting a cap on how many conferences individuals could take. We talked about looking at what opportunities exist locally. Row is an amazing resource, and in addition to these, I also think that we should look at local additions. CLC does stuff, have no issue with that. We have over 2,000 employees, and I want them to have as many opportunities as enrichment as possible, just like our students. So I appreciate the commentary around it. I appreciate the ability to look at the fiscal impact to it. I just don't want to lump everything with a broad brush. I see a lot of initiatives like the IB leadership, which is something that, again, would benefit and is benefiting our students. And a lot of these things were already discussed in our in their SBB plans, right? So this is the work that the principals and the leaders are putting forward. They're taking teachers in groups, diverse groups, in order to make sure that the things that they're looking to implement at their buildings are implemented with fidelity. So I appreciate the commentary around it. I encourage each person to vote their conscience. With that, roll call vote.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Ms. McBride,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah,
No.
Ms. Lansing.
So I'm just going to provide some context around my vote before I give it, just because I held my tongue. These items have been budgeted for. These initiatives, most of them, I see that through line, and it supports the different initiatives we have in place as district leaders to give resources for our students. My frustration with this set is, if they are budgeted for, why are we getting something for October 27th? That's 3 days. If they are budgeted for, we should have this well in advance so that we can make sure we have the appropriate lodging and travel, and the cost of things are low. I've brought it up before. Ms. Fabian has brought it up as well. So that's where my frustration comes in with this slate. I do think it would be a bit hypocritical of me, not in the aspect that I go to conferences, because when I do, I have at this dais said, this is what I've learned. This is what I would like to see happen. And I've had different staff members in the district say, hey, this is how we're addressing what you brought up. Right? So I don't think I'm hypocritical in that respect, but I believe I would be hypocritical to limit someone's opportunity that's been budgeted for when I haven't been able to fully present a policy for this board to review to start addressing this concern, because it is a concern that we hear over and over, and we do need to be mindful about our resources to ensure that we are disseminating that information. So, Ms. Hannah, if you want to help me with the policy writing, no other board member has expressed interest, so we can get started on that, and I can talk to you about other options if we want to expand that team. I apologize. Thank you. So I'm going to say yes for those reasons.
Ms. Fabian?
I echo Ms. Lensing, yes.
President Ewing?
Yes, items approved, motions carried.
Yeah.
I'm just saying we'll need to set dates on when we can get together to
Okay.
hammer that out, because I would like to get it done before the end of the year.
Okay. I knew it wasn't gonna pass.
All right, motion to approve the other items. So we got 10B, I, K, L, M, N, O.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Riddle, second by Ms. Gonzalez. Any comments, questions on the motion? Roll call vote.
Ms. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Mr. McBride?
Yes.
Ms. Hannah?
Yes.
Ms. Lensing?
Yes.
Ms. Fabian?
Yes.
President Ewing?
Yes, item approved, motion carries. All right, we are now at consent agenda for operations. So we got items A through D. Do any board members like to vote on any letter separately?
A.
Perfect. So then we'll take a motion for items 11B, C, and D.
Moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Lensing, second by Ms. Fabian. Any comments, questions on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Ms. McBride?
Yes.
Ms. Hannah?
Yes.
Ms. Lensing?
Yes.
Ms. Fabian?
Yes.
President Ewing?
Yes, item approved, motion carries. We're now going back up to item 11A, approval of attendance at 2023 NAPSI 51st Annual Conference. Yeah, because we're not separately.
It is a recommendation that the Board of Education authorize the attendance of Tasha London at the 2023 NABSE 51st Annual Conference in New Orleans from November 29, 2023 through December 3rd, 2023. The estimated cost to attend the conference is $3,000, which includes registration fees, travel, lodging, and meals per diem.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Riddle.
Second.
Second by Mr. McBride. Any comments or questions on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Ms. McBride?
Yes.
Ms. Hannah?
No.
Ms. Lensing?
For the same reasoning, yes.
Ms. Fabian?
Yes.
President Ewing?
Yes, item approved, motion carries. We are now at purchases and contracts, and unless the board has any objections, these things were previously discussed. And for convenience, I'd like to take items A through G.
A through G.
A through G. A through,
A through K.
A through K.
Motion.
No, not all
Yeah,
approval.
we
Yeah,
didn't.
you said everybody is fine with that?
Yeah.
All right, motion to approve under purchase and and contracts items A through K.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Gonzalez or Mr. Riddle,
Riddle.
second by Ms. Gonzalez. Any comments or questions on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Mr. McBride?
Yes.
Ms. Hannah?
I pass.
Ms. Lensing?
Yes.
Ms. Fabian?
Yes.
President Ewing?
Yes, items approved, motion carries. And because of all the confusion, go all the way up. I want to, all the way up to 11 and actually 10. I'm going to read all the way down, just read into the record each of those items. So from the consent agenda, 10A, approval to attend Illinois Counselor Association Fall Conference. B, approval of One Goal Leadership Network Partnership 2324. C, approval to attend the National Counsel and Leadership Conference. D, approval to attend Association for Career and Technical Educational Vision. Dates there. E, approval to attend 103rd Annual Conference for National Council of Social Studies. F, approval to attend National Council of Supervisors of Mathematics. G, approval to attend IB Leadership Workshop for Leading International Baccalaureate Education for Middle Year Programs. H, approval to attend the annual National Alliance of Black School Educators Conference. I, Lion Magnet Leader and Me. J, approval to attend AASA National Conference in Education. K, approval to purchase 250 Dell Chromebooks for one-on-one student program. L, Panopto Video License Renewal. M, yearly renewal of Microsoft Office and server contract. N, approval for attendance at the Assistive Technology Industry Association. O, renewal of N2Y subscriptions, Unique Learning Systems. Consent agenda starting at 11A, approval of attendance at 2023 NAPSI First Annual Conference, 51st Annual, I'm sorry. B, approval of facility rental waiver request for Interwaukegan Soccer, Julian Zapata. C, approval of FSS Technologies 5-year contract. D, approval of first bulk paper order for fiscal year 24. Purchases and contracts under 12. A, renewal of Nearpod vocabulary. B, health insurance renewal. C, ITS ClearPass Wi-Fi license contract renewal. D, ITS Smart Sheet contract renewal. E, ITS Avic Network monitoring contract renewal. F, ITS Palo Alto firewall contract renewal. G, Lincoln Center data center battery upgrade. H, approval of Pivot Learning Network. I, approval of Gamers Glorified LLC. J, approval of Syndron Cyber Den Systems LLC. And K, approval of the White Way Sports Training LLC. We now have personnel items. So under personnel, we have items 13A, approval of new support staff positions for Wraparound and Educational Service Center.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Education approve 4 new support staff positions for the Wraparound Center and Educational Service Center at an estimated cost of $214,764.45, inclusive of benefits.
Motion to approve.
Motion
Second.
by Mr. Riddle, second by Ms. Gonzalez. Any comments or questions on the motion?
A question?
Go ahead, Ms.
Why are we adding for staff for the Educational Services Center?
Mr. Moulton, Ms. Dotson. Mr. Moulton, I know you presented on it, but I also see Ms. Dotson, so I don't know who's the appropriate person to call. Is it Mr. Moulton? I guess it's Mr. Moulton.
Good evening, members of the board, superintendent, staff, and community. So yes, this information was provided last week. This is, yes, Ms. Hannah. These new positions are to support the new property at 214 Washington Street for the Wraparound Center, which we anticipate to be opening very soon, as well as the rest of the building. We've identified on the agenda item anticipated start dates for the new positions. The overall staffing plan is provided as well, and some of that does include existing positions within the district. And these are all in the support area, Wraparound Center specialists, as well as courtesy officers and custodial staff.
Right. I know about the Wraparound Center. I was just talking about the Educational Services Center, whatever that is.
So that would be the support functions in the rest of the property at that address.
Administration.
Administration, Board of Education functions, the various functions in the remainder of the building outside of the Wraparound Center.
We're just asking for a head custodian, though, for that, just to clarify.
What is being asked for the Educational Services Center?
Yes, so on the agenda item under public content, there is a breakdown here. And I'll just cover both if that's okay. Wraparound Center, 1 specialist for the Wraparound Office. Courtesy Officer, 2 courtesy officers, similar to what is at Lincoln Center, to support the courtesy, greeting, as well as the safety and security functions. And then the Educational Services Center would be 1 head custodian. We will use existing staff to supplement the other evening custodial responsibilities, as well as an additional part-time courtesy officer.
And you said board function. What does that mean?
Sure. So any functionality of the Board of Education that may be taking place at this location, as well as welcome center functions, child nutrition, transportation, outreach, the various departments and the Board of Education functions that will be taking place there, these individuals would be supporting the functions and the overall general day-to-day operation of the building.
Okay, and so are you all intending on having our board meetings? Are we going to stay here where we are able to accommodate the community with the parking and all of that, or are you all going to kind of hinder the public in terms of attending board meetings downtown Waukegan?
So, Ms. Hannah, I want to make sure that this is clear. This question came up in a previous meeting, so if we did not answer it accurately, I apologize, but it is the intention that when we do fully transition the whole building, that there will be Board of Education's functions taking place at this location, such as board meetings, committee meetings, special workshops, etc. That was in one of the previous plans provided, as well as what's posted on the district website. And that's been the intention.
I don't remember it, and I'm opposed to it because it's going to hinder our community.
Okay, but
parking and everything, nobody's going to want to walk 2 blocks in the winter to get to a downtown building for a board meeting. And so, again, unfortunately, people, I'm only one, and so it's just not public friendly. I live here. I know about downtown Waukegan.
So
it's going to be a hindrance to people.
For the record, city council also takes place in downtown Waukegan. If we ever have to move a meeting, as we've done on numerous occasions where there's anticipated large crowds, we will do so to make sure that we accommodate.
My question is, Mr. LeBaron, I think to clear all of this up, this confusion.
No confusion.
The question is, Mr. LeBaron, is there enough parking for the same amount of capacity that will come here on Tuesday nights down there? Is there additional? Is there compatible parking? Will people be able to park?
Because if you're not, I'm gonna say it.
So I do want to remind everybody here that we had several conversations regarding the parking situation, but I do want to make it clear, we did talk about transitions previously. We want to make sure that we're not going to go from 0 to 100 at this location. We want to make sure we can accommodate all the needs. We have a parking rental space for certain staff members. We have identified parking spaces for ADA accessibility as well as wraparound center services. Our Board of Education meetings, Tuesday evenings, will take place after regular business hours. So as we transition, we want to make sure we consider that so individuals can have access to parking on site as needed in the surface lot that's attached to the property of the building. But again, it's not 0 to 100, and I want to make sure that we are considerate of that because we did hear that concern quite a bit as we transition to this process. But again, the Board of Education functions at this location were part of the original plan that we presented, and when we fully transition, it is part of the plan that those functions will be at this location.
And the next question, will there be accessible seating for the board members when they get there?
Yes.
President Ewing, I have like a very quick question. It's a logistical question.
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr.
Hinojosa. I know we were talking about having board functions being moved to 214 Washington Street, and I do know sooner rather than later the board will transition to 214. So for the next co-student board members, will the dais be built in a sense where they would be also sitting at the dais?
I can. So yes, there is room. So yes, we have planned for that, but we have planned for one, not two. And so that switch in plans may change our switch in plan, but we had originally planned for the whole board to be seated at the diocese. So yes.
Okay.
I don't know what that's going to look like now when we add another board member, but we'll figure that out and we'll work with you.
No, of course. Thank you.
Change board members.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moten.
Roll call.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Mr. McBride,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah,
Yes.
Ms. Lindsay,
Yes.
Ms. Fabian,
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved, motion carries. 13B, 8 personnel for 10/24/23.
It is a recommendation that the Board of Education accept the administration's recommendation to approve the appointments, retirement extension, and accept the resignations as found on schedules F1002, L949, and G660.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Riddle, second by Ms. Gonzalez. Any comments or questions on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Mr. McBride,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah,
Yes.
Ms. Lindsay,
Yes.
Ms. Fabian,
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved, motion carries. We're now, we have a couple administrative appointments we'll highlight at this time.
At this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Cordero Burgess, who will serve as a culture and climate specialist at the Washington campus. He is coming from Milwaukee as a dean of students, starting salary $55,000. Congratulations, Mr. Burgess. Is he with us this evening?
I don't think so.
Welcome to Waukegan. Our second appointee will be Ms. Patricia Luna, who previously served as teaching and learning coordinator in Vernon Hills. She will now serve as the bilingual coordinator at Lincoln Center with a starting salary of $90,000. Congratulations, Ms. Luna. Is Ms. Luna in the house? Welcome to Waukegan, Ms. Luna.
All right, item 15A, we are at other, which is the student board member term extension discussion. Information has been presented there. I don't know if we want to bring it up and just kind of remind the board, based on the policy updates and the changes that we made, the process starts later in the year. And so the recommendation is to potentially extend the term of our current student board member.
I think it's a good idea, Board President.
Mr. Riddle?
I'm in favor of it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Hinojosa, anything you want to add?
I'm just here in the event that there's questions.
I would say, just through logistical reasons, I would say yes, it would make sense to extend the term, not just because of me, but because of the logistical idea that you would have the election in January, just to have another one in May-ish, I think, just how the schedule is set to be, as you can see in this chart, around April or May, if I'm correct, it's a 2-month process, right, Mr. Alajakis, about for the election, so it would be very little timing for a student board member or acting student board member to have, timing to like get to know the position and actually do anything that they want to do just to be, maybe potentially not reelected for any term with the next co-7 student board members. But that's pretty much my comments on that.
Board President, that was my exact thoughts. Mr. Hinojosa put it in good words.
Continuity.
Well, I won't belabor it. It seems like there is sufficient support. So,
Then if there's, good evening, Board of Education, community, Board President, Superintendent. If there's consensus, then what we're going to do is we're going to bring it forward for an official board vote to extend Mr. Hinojosa's term from, it would have ended in January 2024. We're going to take it through the end of June 2024, and that is going to require formal action that we'll be bringing forward at a future board meeting. And then in the spring, we'll begin the process on selecting and appointing our 2 new student board members.
Great.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have our ratification of the second processing of October 2023 board bills, manual check request payments, and Old National Bank insurance payments for the period of October 14, 2023 through October 17, 2023.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Education ratify the second October 2023 processing of board bills, manual check request payments, and Old National Bank insurance payments for the period of October 14th, 2023 through October 17th, 2023. The accounts payable board payments for the period of October 14th, 2023 through October 17th, 2023 total $3,156,533.09. The manual check request payments for the period of October 14th, 2023 through October 17th, 2023 total $1,114,431.63. The Old National Bank insurance payments for the period of October 14th, 2023 through October 17th, 2023 total $0.
I motion to approve the recommended action.
Motion by Ms. Gonzalez.
Second.
Second by Mr. Riddle. Any comments or questions on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah, Mr. McBride, Ms. Hannah.
I'm gonna say that I still have some concerns with the financial, so I'm going to pass.
Ms. Lindsay,
Pass.
Ms.
Yes.
Fabian, President Ewing.
Yes. Motion approved. Item carries. Motion approved. We have 17A committee reports. Are there any reports at this time? Nope.
I just have a question on that. Are we being sent the schedules for the committees?
Superintendent?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, the invitations to the committees?
Yes, I will get that out this week.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Delegates report.
Only thing I'd like to remind the board regarding the resolution packets. Did everyone receive them? Okay, and so you guys are going to get me back the, okay, alrighty.
I'm sorry, question for that. When is the absolute latest for us to go through those and get back to you by, so you're prepared?
November 17th.
So by the day of?
No, it's the actual delegates assembly is the 19th. I think that's Saturday morning.
So before we leave for the conference.
So
before
we go to the conference.
Before,
Okay.
Yeah,
We'll get those to
leave
you?
to go to the conference.
Okay.
And for clarity, Ms. Hannah is, she votes the conscience, so she takes our objectives into consideration, but at the end of the day, as our delegate, she will vote, based on, not
What
necessarily
you
how
guys-
she feels fit, but with the feedback. We don't take an official yes or no.
Right.
So
Right.
she will be able to vote as she
Right.
sees fit.
But even though it sometimes it could work like that, where
We
the
take official vote.
resolutions are voted on by the board, and then that way they will be recorded. And if we want to even do that, that's totally up to the board president and the rest of the board. But as of right now, it's just you guys give me the feedback.
Okay.
And however you want me to vote, that's how I'll vote on each item.
Okay.
So clarifying question on that. So how do we as a board decide here's my anticipation, and you correct me if that's not right. So if there's one of the resolutions where I feel strongly about to make sure that it tries to go the way that I'm thinking about, obviously we as a board should be speaking with one voice. I would essentially email board president and superintendent and Nick so it gets on the agenda so that we can vote on it as a whole. I just want to clarify the process so that I have clear expectations, because we'll need to get that done by our first board meeting in November. Then.
Okay.
Yeah, however you guys want to structure it, Mr. President,
So-
you can do that. you know, if you wanted like to be in the minutes and everything. I mean, for example, like one of the big issues
Last year
one
was-
year, was like putting the guns in the school.
No, literally, it was.
Right. No, yeah, exactly.
And I
that
won't.
kind of stuff.
Yeah, we can talk. So yes, if there's one that you feel very strongly about, other than that, I trust Ms. Hannah's judgment.
Yeah,
Obviously.
I was gonna add that the ones that shocked me the most and that I felt were most urgent to speak out against. I mean, I trusted Ms. Hannah's judgment too, but I just reiterated like I support you saying no or you saying yes, and the rationale. But those were like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
that
Well,
were
I'm
just
not- I
out
don't
of
want to
it.
go through all of them.
Yeah,
Let
yeah,
me
yeah.
just be
No,
clear.
It's not
and
that
that's-
many.
There's
It's not that many
Yeah.
resolutions and position statements too. Don't
Right.
forget those two.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Yeah.
If,
time, y'all please have that conversation. Nobody probably heard
17C is the superintendent's report.
Good evening, Waukegan Public Schools. It's once again time for our Illinois school report card to come out. It will be live October 30th. Every school will get a report card with the designation along with a whole district report card, which gives a summarization of how the whole district is doing. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Nault to just dive in very quickly into a few items so that our parents are informed on what they can view on their children's school report card and district report card.
Thank you, Superintendent. Good evening, Board President, members of the board, colleagues, and community members. As the Superintendent mentioned, yes, it's that time of year. The Illinois State Board of Education will soon be releasing the report cards for not only districts, but also individual schools as a whole. So I wanted to brief the board real quickly on how you can access the report card, what can you expect to see on it, et cetera, et cetera. It seems like the state is adding more and more metrics every year, which is a great data point for us as a district to look at that information and obviously use that to drive some of our initiatives, set goals, et cetera. So accessing the report card is pretty simple. You can go to illinoisreportcard.com. Here you can type in the name of any district in the state, any school in the state, and you will, when it's released, you will get the new and updated report card by going to this website. Once you are there, you will see on the left-hand side there is a menu of different items that speak to different categories. So looking at the left-hand side going down, you'll see there's a tab for academic progress, the equity journey continuum, which was new last year, district environment, students, accountability, teachers, administrators, schools, retired tests, etc. And if you click on any one of those items, next slide please, it will display a wide range of metrics that are associated with that area. So the example that you see here on the screen is the academic progress tab. When you click on that, it will display all these different assessment results for you, graduation rate, freshmen on track, et cetera, for you to go in and look at our district data. So I urge you to, if you're curious, I urge you to go into those individual tabs, look at the different metrics that are associated with each tab, and you'll get a really comprehensive picture of how we're doing overall as a district. Not only that, but it allows you to compare us to the state. And it also allows you to break things down by demographic, sometimes by gender, by race, by poverty rates, et cetera, et cetera. So you can really dive deep when you get into the report card. Next slide. Excuse me. There are some new metrics that will be included in the report card this year. The novice administrator rate and count is one. Post-secondary course remediation, school improvement status, student discipline metrics, teacher out of field metric, truant minor count, and truancy rate. There are definitions for each one of these new metrics that is available. When the report card comes out, you'll be able to see what exactly these things mean. Again, because they are releasing new information all the time, we have to keep up to date and refresh ourselves and understand what these definitions are as well. So I have the definitions here. If any board member is curious, I can definitely email them to Nick and he can send them out to you about what these new metrics entail. Ms. Hannah?
No, I'm just.
Oh, okay.
Because I want to know what Donna's.
We'll send them out to the whole board.
Yep, they're all right here, and I'm guessing they'll be available when they release the new report card as well, but I will get them to Nick, and he can get them to you guys tomorrow. Next slide. In terms of the timeline, it's pretty much the same every year. At the end of every school year, we start to submit data to the state. The data has multiple deadlines for different metrics, so we have to submit the data that we track internally to the state. They then, in turn, take that data, they start to run their calculations on it based on the formulas that they have, right? We just submit the reports, and they have formulas that they use to determine the different metrics. And that usually happens all over the summer. In early fall, in the beginning of this month, for example, districts receive preliminary access to that information. It gives us a chance to look at it, preview it, possibly question it, inquire about it, et cetera. So it's a chance for us to kind of get our eyes on it so we can kind of see what may be forthcoming, good, bad, and ugly. And then the report card goes offline toward the end of this month, and it becomes available to the public on October 30th. Next slide. In terms of our ESSA designations, if you recall, every school receives an ESSA designation every year. These are the 4 categories. There is a new 5th category this year, which I'll touch on here in a second. But the 4 summative designations that schools can receive are exemplary, commendable, targeted, and comprehensive support. The newest designation is intensive support. That's new, and that's for schools that have been in some type of school improvement status since 2018 and beyond, and they still remain in the lowest 5% of the state. So that's a new summative designation that you may see assigned to some schools across the state, depending on how they've performed since 2018. And just so the board knows, these designations are determined by multiple measures. The next couple slides, I'll get into what those measures are. They haven't changed over the last several years. They're pretty much the same for both elementary, middle, and high. But there's 7 or 8 measures for each level that determine what their ESSA designation will be. Next slide. So for our elementaries and middle schools, these are the measures. There's some academic indicators. The ELA proficiency on IAR. So the proficiency, remember, is the number of students that are meeting or exceeding standards. Math proficiency on IAR. Growth on IAR, which is weighted 25%. Math growth, which is rated 25%. ELPTP, which is our English learners' progress toward proficiency. In other words, their performance on access and how they are moving toward that English proficiency level. And then our science proficiency, which is a science assessment that is taken at the elementary middle school level. School quality indicators are chronic absenteeism, which accounts for 20%, and then our climate surveys, which is our 5 essential survey results. So that's how the designation is determined for elementary and middle schools. At the high school, it's a little different. The bulk of the designation, 50% of it, is based on graduation, and then they do have proficiency levels on SAT for both math and English. Again, that ELPTP metric applies to the high school as well. The science proficiency also applies to the high school. And the main difference between high school, elementary, and middle is that they include freshmen on track as a metric for the high school, along with chronic absenteeism and, again, the 5 essentials survey. So that's how when a high school gets a designation, those are the indicators that determine that designation. And just to review the board, these are our current designations for the 21-22 school year. The last year, we'll get new designations come October 30th. But these are the current designations that our schools have. You can see the number of schools that are elementary schools, where they are. And then the next slide is the middle schools and the high school. I did link some resources in here if you want to check them out. Board member Fabian sent some other additional resources as well. Once this becomes, again, live, you'll have access to all these different links. I encourage you to go to isb.net/summative, and you can access as many different resources as have. They have presentations on there. They have webinars. They have things that have been presented to districts. So it really is a comprehensive bank of resources that you can go into. You can kind of spend hours looking at some of these links and these resources. So I encourage you to do so. If you have any additional questions, you can email me directly if you have some as well. I'd be more than happy to help. So, any questions?
I have questions.
Go ahead, Ms. Gonzalez.
I had a couple, but tied to one of the earlier slides about the novice administrator, and I do want the definitions as well. Not an ask of you, Dr. Nault, but of the superintendent, where I don't think we've done it yet, but I've asked to in our schedule, in our hiring schedule, to know how long our administrators stay on. To have their hiring date be a part of the schedule, like our first one, yeah. So that's just something I want for our record so that the board knows, because when I heard novice, I'm sure it has a different definition, but I think it would be beneficial for us to know how long our admin stays. And then my second question was around the new ESSA designation. Do you predict that we have any schools in that new designation?
The school improvement status, or that fifth one?
The fifth one, that is
Intensive
intensive support.
I'm going to ask that you hold that just because we're embargoed and we
so he
can't legally discuss that. And I see Miss Fabian saying that. So there's an embargo by the state, and so I just.
So we can't even predict, or yeah.
He's seen them, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I just don't want to compromise the integrity of it.
All right. I thought we hadn't yet seen it, but okay, I understand. October 30th.
We've gotten preliminary information, but again, they're very clear that until the 30th, it's all preliminary, and
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you go on the Illinois Report Card site, it will give you definitions. This year, it will have a new look. So they've laid it out to be a little bit more visually appealing. And we're creating a lot more resources to also be more like one-pagers, easy to read flyers. So some of those are already there up on the resource page, so you can see before you find out what the designation is, you can find out the actual
markers,
requirements for each designation and all of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate that. All right, we have a couple information items that have been listed there for your review. So one's the FOIA report and the itemized compensation report.
Can we have a brief conversation in reference to the FOIA reports, Mr. President?
If you have a question, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, because see, I have, being diplomatic, we have been hearing about the FOIAs and them not being delivered within the legal time. And I think that that superintendent board, we need to look at that so that we stay in compliance with the law. And I'm saying that because I'm waiting on a FOIA that I submitted on the 13th of September. And I still have not received.
13th or 11th?
Either the 11th, whatever day, 13th, 11th, 13th.
Yep.
And I mean, it's not a good look, especially with it being already introduced to us as a concern from the public. And then a board member didn't get it. So I'm just saying, okay, we really need to look at that and find out what the issue is. If there's more people if there's more hands that's needed to complete the issue, the service, then we need to maybe look into that and do it. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Ms. Hannah.
You know, I'm going to echo what Ms. Hannah said, because it doesn't make sense for us to keep hearing the same thing over and over and we're not addressing the issue. I think that's just common sense. And the bottom line to it, we just, whatever we need to do to supplement the reason for us not being able to produce, we need to just do it. That's simple as that. I mean, because again, we keep hearing the same thing over and over and over and over. So whatever we just need to do to, as a board, not just for me, as for all of us, because when we look bad when we keep hearing the same thing over and over. Now, if there was reason saying that we are in compliance and we're just hearing something, it ain't making sense, but if it's making sense, we need to address it. That's all I'm saying.
Needs to be addressed.
Sorry, I think we would also want to, as a board, understand why they're not being completed on time, right? So, like, I agree, let's solve it, but let's also understand why it happened in the first place.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, item B, the compensation report was there. We do have old business, which is board policy 4101, recruitment, selection, appointment, second reading.
It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the amendments to Board Policy 4101, recruitment, selection, and appointment as recommended by the administration following an equity review.
We have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Riddle, second by Mr. McBride. Any comments, questions on the motion?
I believe I had sent in a couple of questions and maybe I had overlooked it in my email, but was there a response to those concerns?
For the record, because I'm not sure off of memory, if you have them and if you want to ask them here publicly, and hopefully the administration can address them.
Okay, give me a moment.
Can I just make one comment while she's looking at it?
Yes, go ahead, Ms. Fagan.
I just want to make a comment too. I know that policy moves practice, so looking at, when you're looking at the committees, and that you're requiring at least 2 central office administrators, at least 2 district principals, at least 2 teachers, right? That we're being equitable and we're not choosing the same 2, and that we're not pulling them out of the school day or school time and disrupting that time. Right. So ensuring as much as possible, if we can have those vacancies open and those interviews done during the summer where, you know, they don't have the student component as much. And again, that's the practice part of your side, but I just wanted to make sure that that's, you know, you guys are thinking of that.
Yeah, to give an appropriate time for response, seeing as this is not pertinent, we can, so if we can withdraw motions.
Yes, I'd withdraw the motion.
We have and with the second withdraw as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Board President?
Yeah.
I had asked something too, and I never really got a response on the criminal background check. I had made a suggestion that because of our experience that we've had in the past, that we also require a social media check.
That
And-
is included, Mr. Riddle.
What?
That's included in the recommendation.
So, for the
Well,
sake
it's
of
not
clarity
included
and to
in
make
the
sure all
policy,
board
though.
members
I
feel
don't
comfortable with
I don't
what
see
we're...
that in the policy, so
So for the...
it's not in the actual policy.
You mean like calling prior jobs?
No, they're making sure that.
Can I respectfully ask that if there were questions or input added to this policy, if you can send it to Nick and I tomorrow, resend it to Nick and I. Our general counsel will be out this week, so we can get that to Joe, and we can start working on that, please.
All right, 19B, Are we ready to move forward, or would any board members like more time for consideration?
Yes.
What's the yes to?
Yes, to more consideration.
All right. Item C is approval to amend of amended partial facility rental waiver request for Ghostlight LLC.
It is the recommendation that the Board of Education approve the amended partial facility rental waiver request submitted by Ghostlight LLC. The fees associated with the facility rental are $8,000.
Do we have a
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Riddle. We have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McBride.
Point of order.
Go ahead, Ms. Hannah.
My point of order is the fact that this has been brought to the board. It has been voted down by the majority of the board. No one on the prevailing side brought this forth, did they? If not, it should not go forth.
To respond, go ahead, Mr. Clary.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Hannah. I just want to make sure that the facts as I have them are accurate, and I'll be looking to Mr. Alajakis to confirm this. The motion that failed in the most recent meeting was different insofar as it referenced a different financial amount that would be paid by the business. So in answer to your question, this would be a new item and in effect a new motion relative to a new item because the item has been substantively changed, I believe, taking into account some of the reservations expressed by the board. Nick, would you be prepared to confirm that my understanding is correct?
So Robert's Rules of Orders does not apply here.
Yeah, that's what I think that the problem is that if we're allowed to do it based on what Mr. Clary has explained to us, then it was misplaced on the agenda.
That's a point of order.
And that's fair. So if we would like to move it under new business, as the board chair, that's completely within my powers, and if that is something that we would want to do, or vote it down again. But it is a substantively new motion. So we got a motion and a second. Is anybody willing to withdraw their motion or their second?
Do we want to move it to new business, or you've just done that?
I don't think he does. You
have to withdraw your old.
So if we're gonna do it, let's do it the right way.
Right.
So do you guys want to wait and bring it back? I mean, there's absolutely no substantive. If you guys would like to withdraw your motion and wait another 2 weeks, like
No, I don't want
that's
to do
fine.
Are we
that.
able to move it up tonight to new
Let's
business?
vote on it tonight. Deal with it.
I really, I mean, that's the thing. Is like this is the stuff that is.
Well, Brendan, let's do some clarity here. Let's do some clarity here. Why we even stuck at this point anyway, in reference to what we even discussing. What happened was there was some.
Can you use the mic, Mr. McBride?
There were some board members that was concerned about the finance piece of this. And I don't think it was the idea that we didn't want the company to come in and be in our schools.
Right.
But nobody wanted. We wanted to make sure that they was physically able to pay for what they were doing. And according to my understanding, that has happened now. They have come back and gave us what we asked for.
Yes.
And so for us to deny them because of the fact that before we didn't, they didn't have the dollars to give us that we was requesting. Now we have that money. So what we're doing, if we do not allow them to come, I think we're taking the advantages of our students to be able to be involved in a production. And I think Mr. Riddle was one of the ones that was questioning the finance. And
That's all I was questioning.
And so we're back now to the junction that they're coming with the money, and that's what the concern was. It wasn't about we not wanting them in the building. It was just the finance piece. They've taken care of that now. So I think that for my support, I would like to just move forward because if we go and come back, we're gonna move forward anyway. Why are we delaying it?
Let's withdraw the
Clary?
motion.
Sorry, I wanted to ask a clarifying question.
Go ahead, Ms. Gonzalez.
If I remember correctly, I mean, and I don't know, because Jazz isn't here. Because, you know, and I didn't know this rule, so I appreciate people, you know, talking about it, because I will refer to that in the future. But the people on the prevailing side were Mr. Riddle voted it down, Ms. Hannah voted it down, Ms. Lansing, and
Mr. McBride.
Mr. McBride. So now it seems like you're changing your mind because of the financial piece.
That's what you're
So then why are we arguing? Okay, so but you have to make it. You guys have to make it. So can they withdraw and make? Oh, no.
Withdraw.
They're saying withdraw the motion and make the motion to reconsider.
So
it's a form of,
go ahead.
I'm going to speak directly to this to clarify a few points. Because the question's been raised, but I haven't heard it raised by the presiding officer. So I would like to get an understanding from the presiding officer what procedural questions he is asking of me, and then I can respond.
Do you recommend that they withdraw the motion?
I would recommend at this point that it's a matter of form over substance. I would say initially that old business doesn't have to be the identical item. It can simply be old business. In this case, you have old business, which is a new motion that, as a point of order, would not be subject to a motion of reconsider, which would have been had to have been made at the earlier meeting. You now have old business with a new motion with new content. You can address it at old business. If you wish to go through form over substance and make it new business, you're free to do so, but there would be no need because this would be a question of form over substance at this point.
And for the sake of the community, so they do feel heard, that was
and we're
already asked
building
and
trust.
answered. And then for the sake of the board members, if you ever have a concern, because I am human, and when reviewing it, it looked like it was fine to me, any person at any time could have asked for it to be moved or brought up the issue. I heard from nobody until Mr. Vukovich yesterday. Yesterday. Again, I'm not blaming Mr. Vukovich. I'm talking about on review. It is, especially when it's something that we support, it seems like we get bogged down. We've already spent more time, so I'm going to ask you all to withdraw your motion.
Can I ask a clarifying question before we do that? Just to save time in the future since we're on it now, from what I recall, it was like 14.5K and then it dropped down to like 13.9 or something, and now the total is down to $1040, like $10,040. So I'm misunderstanding why there's the variance in the cost of it, because it seems like they've been pretty consistent with this 2,000 amount. So I'm just confused on why that number has been changed from like 14 now down to 1040.
Sure. So if I may, initially it was about $14,500. It went down $500 per day because the Ghostlight production company said they could contribute $100 per day, kind of like a per diem type of a rate. The significant adjustment is the amount of hours per day in the invoicing. So it went from 12 hours a day to 10 hours per day, which modified the custodial charges, which is the $2,040 that's reflected. So the $10,040 minus $2,040 is how we get to the $8,000 now. So that's the main variation.
Okay, I appreciate that. I missed that piece. Thank you for clarifying for me.
Yeah, it's up to the board at this point. Would you guys like to withdraw your motions?
Whatever, I will if that's what you want me to do, as long as we get this thing approved.
Yes, and I'll move it to new business, and then
All right, I'll withdraw my motion.
It's Mr. McBride.
Mr.
You
want
withdraw
to
your second?
withdraw your second?
Again, as Mr. Riddle said, as long as we get this approved, and I don't think our idea was to approve it. It's just the order of how the process. But once again, even right now, we decide to go back and if we speak about Robert rules, we're still going to approve it. So why are we going through this?
We're just doing procedure,
It's procedure
It's
and
procedure.
practice.
Yeah.
Typically.
Point of order was made. I want
Yes.
to be respectful.
We want to be respectful, so just
Well, seeing there's no second, because Mr. Riddle withdrew his first, I'm going to move on and then we'll take it at the end of new business. Item 20A, engagement of legal counsel.
It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the engagement of outside legal counsel as recommended by the General Counsel for the purpose of conducting an investigation into personnel programming matter to appoint Board Member Ms. Carolina Fabian and Board Member Ms. Christine Lenzing as special committee to represent the Board, receive status report, and authorize supplemental costs if necessary.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Riddle.
Second.
Second by Ms. Fabian. Any comments or questions on the motion?
Yes, there's comment, no questions. This is, and I can speak because I was informed that I had been informed about this outside of closed session. Anyway, public, my constituents, this is an investigation into me as a board member. I'm only speaking of me about false allegations, and because of that, there's things I cannot speak about, but this, in my opinion, is totally unnecessary. It is a waste of school district taxpayer money, and we should not be doing this, and so I'm speaking out and very, very opposed to this.
I'll make a comment.
And I have it in writing what I just said, that I could speak about this because it came outside of closed session.
I hear the community, and I thank the community for coming to the podium and speaking your stance and bringing attention to issues and being mindful of how we spend the taxpayers' dollars. I don't deserve your trust, right? I don't expect, well, I think I deserve it, but that's up to you to decide. I don't expect your trust is really what I meant to say. I don't expect your trust, but in this situation, to ensure that we can move forward on a clean slate without any rain clouds over us or checking behind, or just to really extend that trust and transparency as much as we are allowed with the public, I'm going to be in favor of this. And I hear the concerns about the outside counsel. There are components we can't discuss, but I am just asking for your patience and grace, and I am asking for trust in this moment, but I don't expect it.
All I'll say is because it's the subject of an investigation, and there are components in which, for that person's privacy, everybody has the presumption of innocence. And that is what I start with, the presumption of innocence. And so while I will be supporting this, it is under the presumption of innocence. And so I cannot go into detail and will not go into detail on what individuals are named, what the situation of circumstances are, until such a time, if and when that information is able and available to become public. Outside of that, I will no longer be making a comment related to this item. And I would encourage any board members to do the same. Roll call.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Mr. McBride,
Pass.
Ms. Hannah,
No.
Ms. Lindsay,
Yes.
Ms. Fabian,
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved, motion carries. We are at item 20B, approval of rental waiver request for Phoenix FC.
It is the recommendation that the Board of Education authorizes the superintendent to approve the facility rental waiver request submitted by Phoenix FC. Phoenix FC has reserved the gym at Abbott Middle School for youth soccer practices. The requested remaining balance to be waived is $8,696.
I make a motion that we approve the Phoenix request for rental waiver.
Second.
Second by Ms. Lindsay. First was Ms. Hannah. Any comments or questions on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Mr. McBride,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah,
Yes.
Ms. Lindsay,
Yes.
Ms. Fabian.
Thank you to the individuals who came, and yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
President Ewing.
Yes,
Thank you
item
for
approved,
your-
motion carries. Item 20C, approval of the facility rental waiver request for FC Latinos.
It is the recommendation that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent to approve the facility rental waiver request submitted by FC Latinos. FC Latinos has reserved the gym at Smith Middle School for youth soccer practice. This requested balance to be waived is $12,544.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Riddle, second by Ms. Lindsay. Any comments or questions on the motion?
Once it starts happening, we are going to have to, it sets precedent, and so we probably need to go back and look at the rental agreement with outside agencies, because the prices are getting higher and higher for the waivers.
Roll call vote.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Ms. McBride,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah,
Yes.
Ms. Lindsay,
Yes.
Ms. Fabian.
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved, motion carries. We are now at item 20D, approval of facility waiver request for Heart of the City.
It is the recommendation that the Board of Education authorizes the superintendent to approve the facility rental waiver request submitted by Heart of the City. Heart of the City has reserved the gym at North Elementary School for youth soccer games. This requested balance to be waived is $1,536.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Riddle, second by Ms. Lindsay. Any comments or questions on the motion?
Just one comment. I just want to thank Heart of the City for their partnership beyond what they're doing here.
Thank you. Roll call vote.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Mrs. McBride,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah,
Yes.
Ms. Lindsay,
Yes.
Ms. Fabian.
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved, motion carries. Item E, Board Policy 2102, Conduct of Board Meetings, 2104, Citizen and Employee Participation in Meetings. This is a discussion item as this was brought forward by a board member. If we can get there's a section up, or I guess comments.
This one that has that 48.
Lee.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Are you waiting for me to pull it up?
Or if you have your question and you know it, I just wanted to make sure everybody had it.
My only comment was, or I guess comment/question, is the move from 72 to 48 hours. So the board packet is usually available to the board members at least 72 hours, and that wants to be changed to 48.
That's what they're asking?
What's the rationale? 'Cause
Why?
I personally need.
No, they're requesting more time.
But no,
They wanna give us
policy,
less.
yeah, policy versus practice. So the policy currently says 72.
And that's
They've
what
been
it
doing
should
it,
be.
actually, they've been meeting and complying with that
Yeah.
before. It's coming on Fridays. The 48 hours to comply with statutory, right? We can always do more and above. So if the board would like to leave it, fine. If they don't, it was put forward as a recommendation, is just to make sure the policy reflects statute.
For me, I also believe, though, as stated before, policy moves practice. And the practice has been more than the 72 hours, and I appreciate that because I know the staff works hard to get that. But when you change the policy, that also can change the practice because now I don't have to do it 72, I only have to do it 48. So if I get it in there at 50, I'm good, right? So moving forward, because we don't know, what admin is going to change over time. We don't want to keep rewriting this policy. I just feel like it's been working. I personally don't agree with
And
change.
sorry, Mr. White, if you can scroll down, there's a highlighted section, a couple.
Page 4.
Understand why they messing with board stuff.
And that's the
It
only
was
thing
it
that
was
I
a board member request for the second time.
Yeah.
So this came forward from a board member. So that is why it is being discussed, so that we can give direction to the administration if it is something that we would like to move forward with or not. Rules of
good with the
procedure.
rest of it.
An agenda item is open for discussion. Blah 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 blah. 2/3 members present the member given leave to speak further. So this was part of it.
I mean, what's the rationale what the administration wants to take it down to 48 hours?
I've already provided that
Superintendent,
one.
What is the rationale behind it?
Asked and answered. Yeah. It's to comply with statute. If we don't want to, again, this was a board. You're asking the administration. If the board doesn't support it, we don't have to spend time discussing it. So it was put in there. I don't support it. Ms. Fabian doesn't support it. Ms. Lindsay doesn't support it. Ms. Hannah doesn't support it. Again, we're looking for direction. So I don't want to belabor it, especially because it didn't come from admin. This is a request from a board member to
Oh, I'm
consider.
sorry. I apologize.
So, rules of procedure, discussion or debate, and agenda item is open for discussion or debate by the board members, and that's a motion and a second. Upon a call for the vote, the discussion shall close and a vote be taken without further commentary. For each agenda item, members shall be limited to speaking twice for no more than a total of 5 minutes, unless by a 2/3 vote of the members present. The member is given leave to speak further. So when you talk about the rationale is because, as many of you have sat through our ISB discussions and even on this board dais, is our meetings are very, very long. And so I believe that the individual who brought this forward was looking to figure out a way in order to make sure that we are able to hear from every member, but that we do so in a concise way. So 5 minutes per member per item is what is being recommended here.
Well, let me say something. It was me that brought it forward. We had members out in the audience that would say, well, you guys spent a half an hour on one item, and then we talked about this item that was important, and then you didn't say nothing. Even tonight, last night, we was talking about rental of soccer. We spent 45 hours trying to make a decision whether or not we wanted that guy that was volunteering for our kids to go into one of our fields over at Clark. And then there's other rationale that I have when we sit here, we talk about issues and we just go on and on and on, just get in the weeds on and on and on, and it keeps us here all night. And as our board president said, we get the packet. If I got something that I'm concerned about and I think is illegit, I need to question it, I'll call Brandon. I don't have to get up here and again, I've been around too long. I know when to be seen and when to be heard. And a lot of things that we said here, we just go over and over. And if Adriana says something down there, somebody else got to come behind her and say it all over again for 10 minutes. And that keeps us here all night long. And I'm going to say that I guarantee you, if you go to any board meetings in the state of Illinois, there's no boards that's sitting here till 11 o'clock at night. We're the only board that I know that does that. And now I understand that we have some important items we need to be talking, but this is every board meeting. We don't leave out of here till 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night. Well, sometimes we're here till 1. And to me, that's just crazy. I mean, if you can't sit here and conduct the business and question your staff about everything they do, we have our staff come to that podium And we act like we know everything. We act like we the teachers. We want to counter everything that they bring us. And then when we do count, one person counted, the next person got something to say. The next person got, I don't care what the subject is. And I'm not just saying that to be saying it. You guys see it yourself because you see it. You see it your own self. Sometimes you just go round and round and round. That's why I brought it, because I get tired of staying here till 10 o'clock at night.
So I'm just gonna.
Could it be that the agenda is longer, Mr. McBride, than what you remember?
Ms. Hannah, again, like I said what I said. If Adriana says something, somebody got to come behind her and talk 15 minutes after. Then after Adriana, somebody else, and it's all about the same subject. And then guess what? At the end of the day, everybody vote yes.
So, as the chair, my issue, and it has always been stated, is we can put into policy the issue that I have, and I told, I've said this to Mr. McBride, I've said this to others, is that when I try and enforce it, it's not adhered to. And so having a policy that we don't even practice or follow ourselves, having board agreements that we don't practice or follow ourselves, it does us no good. So as opposed to, and I agree with the intent, Mr. McBride, as I think as a board we need to self-monitor. I don't want to stifle or stymie anybody's free speech, right? That is not what my intent is as a board chair, but I do want us to be respectful of each other's time and the public's time. And so this was under consideration, and you talked about the intent is because of that dominating, right? I feel like a lot of these are already addressed in those board agreements, and if we would adhere to the board agreements, then we would need to amend policy. And if we aren't doing it through board agreements, Mr. McBride, it don't matter what's on this piece of paper, is because I don't believe, and I'm saying that, I believe that a goal, I won't disparage the board team, I believe that a goal of this board should be to make sure that we as individuals are adhering to our board agreements. And if we do that, we don't have a need to change policy. So that's how I feel about this one. And with you, I won't belabor it. So can we scroll down a little bit? I just want to make sure that I captured everything. Keep scrolling down. Next blue section, including family or other emergencies. So this is actually a reflection that is state law. They added to the things and reasons why you can participate remotely. So personal illness and disability, employment purposes, business of the public body, family or other emergency, which are to include unexpected child care obligations. So that is to reflect statute. That is why that was added. Of course, we agree because we don't have an option. Notification.
Well, I have a question. What does that mean? What does that look like?
I think the board,
because that's very vague language.
It is. So the board has to approve it. So it's an allowable exception, but the board would have to vote on it. I think it's vague on purpose, as many of us have children, and so if our child is sick, right, we can't leave.
I would like to hear one person at a time, just to be respectful.
So babysitter cancels, someone is sick, which is if you're a single mother or maybe the other partner is not able to be present, then that would allow you to ask for the ability to participate remotely. Doesn't mean that we have to grant it, right? But if I'm on vacation in Honolulu, that's not an allowable exception. Right. So regardless, it has to be approved, and the board should only be approving it based on allowable exceptions. And this was added, I think, due to respect for we have more than ever, more people, and I will say women primarily still in our society, shoulder the burden of child care, but this would apply to males and females the same.
Beautiful.
So,
thank you.
Notification requirements, again, it just gives, we changed the technical language about secretaries and to executive assistant. Scroll down.
I believe that's it.
Yeah. So that was really the only change, and so at this point, I do want to honor, right, Mr. McBride did what he said, is he put it to policy. My point is still that I believe that we have board agreements that already address it, and if we adhere to or follow our board agreements, we don't need to adjust policy. And
Board President?
yes.
Okay. I would support, since we would be modifying this policy anyway, I would support what Mr. McBride has added. I just think it might hold some more weight being in policy. Yes, it's board agreements. We can always change board agreements, but this is vague enough. It gives, or specific enough that it gives, it can, if we follow this as the policy, it will speed our meetings up so that we do the important business of the board, and we do it in a respectful way and everyone gets a chance to speak. So I support putting this in there as long as we're going to modify the motion anyway to put the other items that we just discussed in there.
So we had two that are for. Do we have anybody else that supports the addition?
So I had asked for a comment and then we moved on from it and then now we're back to it. So my concern with this is that we do get PowerPoint presentations ahead of time, but it's just a slide. And then there's additional commentary to explain those slides. So in those instances, we have not had proper time to prepare for that, so 5 minutes may not be appropriate. So putting it in policy is going to restrict us and hinder us. And I've brought up ideas on how we can ensure we're being transparent with our board work while also being expeditious with our time and efficient with our time, and that was shot down. So I'm getting frustrated very clearly because we say you can't have it both ways, but in this sense, you're getting it both ways. And I find that highly inappropriate because I understand as a board, we're gonna operate at a higher level. The public is not going to get the nitty-gritty details that we have, but we have the obligation to express to the community or to show the community what our thought process is to build that trust, to build that transparency, which has been a consistent issue over the years, not just this board and the prior board and the board before that. Y'all's meetings have been going long for a very long time. This is not a new thing. And I get the desire to shorten it, to be mindful of both the staff's time, the community's time, and our time. But if we put this into policy, there are going to be situations that are going to stifle us and hinder us from doing our job properly. And that is my concern. So I am a firm no on this. I agree we should adhere to our protocols once we pass them. And if we're going long, just like Ms. Gonzalez did when I was speaking earlier to say, hey, we're hitting that time, great. Let's hold each other accountable and not just rely on the president to hold everyone accountable.
Well,
Let's set that example.
Comment, Brandon, once you get done. You done, Christine?
I want to hear Ms. Fabian because to adhere to exactly what we're trying to is to make sure we hear from all the board members and then vote our conscience. Ms. Fabian?
I just want to clarify that it does state you're speaking twice on each item for a total of 5 minutes. So that will give you actually 10 minutes per item. Is that how I'm reading it? I mean, is that how I'm interpreting it correctly or no?
I would say that's not the intent. The intent is you would speak twice for a total of 5. So if
For
you
the
took
entire
2.5,
agenda.
right? So if it's a time and a consideration. So like we just had, Ms. McBride gave an opinion. Ms. Lindsay made something, but now Mr. McBride wants to also respond. If he responds, he's now hit his 2. And he would be then not allowed to speak based on this policy for the rest of that discussion, right? Or 5 minutes, whichever one he was to exceed first, right? Am I interpreting that correctly? I mean, there's a bunch of ways you could do it.
So I'm not going to offer an interpretation. I would say it's ambiguous enough that it should probably be clarified to reflect what the board's intention would be if this policy was to move forward. So that would be something we could try to clarify if it moves forward, whether it's a total of 5 per item or if it's a total of 10, if you will. Assuming someone can speak twice. I do want to point out that the discussion or debate is limited, the restriction on discussion or debate is limited to those items where there's supposed to be a vote. So it wouldn't relate to the informational items, it's specifically on the items regarding when a vote is to take place.
So not committee meetings where, like, to Ms. Fensing's point, when there's a presentation with a few slides and they come and present at a committee meeting, this does not apply.
Absolutely not, because this is strictly limited, as I said, when a motion has been made and seconded, and committee meetings, there are no motions, right? You're
Right.
just receiving
Okay.
information.
Well,
I'm good with
can I
that.
say something now, Brandon?
Yes.
Well, what I'm saying is that a lot of items that come across are very important. But when you get up there and question somebody for a whole hour about a grant, I know more about a grant than I ever know, but I know what a grant is. But with all the questions that I was that somebody that the individuals at that podium, we questioning for a whole hour about a grant. And to me, that didn't make sense, to question somebody about a grant for a whole hour. You needed to know all the details about the grant. All the details. That didn't make sense. And I'm saying, I've been around long enough to know what a grant is. And if we got a grant and somebody giving us money, that's not my job anyway to monitor the grant. That's the person, the person that's got the grant, that's his job to monitor the grant. I don't need to be asking a whole lot of questions about the grant, but we went a whole hour about the grant. And to me, that didn't make sense.
Yeah.
But I had to sit here and listen to it.
So what I do want to do is get consensus that there were two in support. I don't know, Ms. Gonzalez, how do you feel about adding this section?
I had some brief comments. I feel like right now, from what, because I went to the restroom and came back, from what I heard from other board members is that we right now wouldn't comply with this addition, and if we're not going to follow what we have in policy, why add it? So just on principle, that doesn't make sense to me. The second point that I think about is, I think about some of our meetings with our IASB rep and what makes a functioning board successful and what makes a productive board meeting, because it is a business meeting in public. It is not something that, as much as we hear from the community and we want to respond, it is our obligation to be effective for our staff and our stakeholders. And I know it seems very cold when you are productive and focused, but that is what is obligated of us in this role. And I don't think that we as a board have been successful in debating. If I am the only one that feels a particular way about an agenda and I don't have consensus, I have to respect the will of the board, and we haven't done that in certain cases. I'm not saying that there's not room for dissent, but we don't know how to debate. And again, if we're going to add an amendment to the policy that requires you to know how to debate, and we don't follow it, I don't think that it's going to make sense. I also think the last thing, the 48 hours prior, I'm in disagreement with, because we need more time to read our agenda items, especially when our packets are lengthy. And so, people are going to send questions ahead of time if we get more time to send the questions. So I hope that makes sense. I am in complete philosophical and moral agreement with Mr. Rick Bride, though. And I hope that board members don't take it wrong when we say that we need to expedite the business of the board. But it's true. We've heard that from our IASB reps. It's not us saying it. It's other successful boards in Illinois functioning to that degree. So that's what I think.
Ms. Fabian?
I just also want to clarify and kind of reiterate another thought that Mr. McBride was saying. So apart from the time, which again, I agree, we should, I've got a job in the morning, like we want to get out of here, and we also don't want to talk in circles. But the other point that I'm hearing, and tell me if I'm wrong, is the treatment of staff is undermining our staff that's coming up to present. And I feel like that was a big piece of this that isn't worded. So I don't know if somewhere, if not here, but in our practice, we can add that, because I don't want to miss what he's saying, because we can't also undermine our staff and make them feel undervalued and question everything when we ourselves are not experts in all the areas.
Yeah, I don't know how we put that into policy, but I think when you talk about mutual respect and civility, and so I do appreciate Ms. Lindsay for talking about shared terminology, is because respect looks different depending upon who you are. So by defining it, people won't feel disrespected. I think it's important to question, right? And there's an expectation to question. There's an expectation to question respectfully. So I hear exactly what you're saying. Is in certain instances, Ms. McBride did need said information, but as we talked before, other board members may felt that they need that information. We talked about Mr. Riddle saying, I just want the highlights, and Ms. Gonzalez saying, I need the details, right? And so those are different how you receive, and it is a struggle, which is why we have to speak with one voice, is because when we're communicating to the administration, it can be confusing when you have 7 individuals that are asking you for 7 different things, right? So that's why we look for consensus when we're making those requests. So right now, just because I want to move us through and get through this piece, because we have a second one, is where do you stand, Ms. Fabian? I want to just, for the record, do you agree with adding it, or do you want to keep it out?
I agree with Mr. McBride's statement, but I also agree with you. It's a bad look if we're putting this in and then we don't follow it, right? And I also would like to clean up the language, because the 5 minutes, and you could only talk twice for the whole agenda, and sometimes you have those double letter ones. That seems like it just is a little bit too specific in that case.
Ms. Lindsay?
No.
Oh, you already gave yours, and then Ms. Hannah.
No.
So there's not adequate support to add that portion to the policy. The other items that have been here outside of the 72 hours, or we want to leave that at 72 hours if Mr. Clary will make that recommendation, and then we will move forward with the technical changes. And that can come back for a first reading. All right. The second item under that agenda is the citizen and district employee participation at meetings. We can scroll to the highlighted blue. So speakers should limit their comments to a maximum of 3 minutes, and comments should focus on current board agenda items, district initiatives, or district or student-related programs, services, or activities. The board president or president's designee shall ensure that such time limits are respected and will inform the speaker of or when the speaker's speaking time has expired. So the items in blue are the ones that are being recommended for going into it. Technically, I don't have an issue with this. I don't think we have an issue with this in our board meetings. I think it's broad enough, is that it's saying that it should relate to the school district, and what you see at some board meetings, and why I could see adding it, is somebody gets up and reads from the dictionary, right? I think this says that the items that are discussed should be relevant to the district initiatives, right? Every comment that was made this evening, for example, would still be allowed and made under adding this verbiage to the policy. So I personally, this section, don't have an issue with it, but I'd love to hear from the other board members.
Mr. Clary, would you agree with that assessment that board president made, that based on this language, every public comment made today would qualify, and that we rarely have comments that would go against what this policy is intending?
So I would certainly agree on the first question you asked.
Okay.
Rephrasing Mr. Ewing's statement. I'm not going to offer an opinion on what's been rare or not rare, since I'm not always witnessing everything, and during public comment I try my best to witness it all, but certainly what Mr. Ewing said would be accurate regarding all of the comments tonight.
Go ahead, Ms. Annan, if you can talk into the mic.
I have a question in reference to, I know at, excuse me, I know at one point the statute changed where the individual speaking did not have to say their address and whether or not they reside in within the boundaries of the district. And so did that change? Did the statute change where we are now back to having addresses for residents, and even whether they reside within the boundaries of the district?
So, Ms. Anna, I don't have the statute in front of me, so I can't really opine to that. But it appears to me, not just appears, is the sentence you're looking at is in the current policy, and it seems to me that what you're asking is for us to confirm in the next version whether or not that particular sentence reflects current law. And if that's the case, that's what we can do.
Yes, because I remember that being taken out of there.
Yeah, and that's not currently what we're doing.
Correct.
Yeah.
So,
So we don't limit. So if we want to reflect it, it's optional. People can put it,
Right.
but I don't refuse them based on that. So if we want to remove it from the current policy, I have no issue with that. Now going back to the comments in blue, again, I have no issue adding them. I want to very quickly and succinctly go down the line. Ms. Handa, do you have an issue with including these words?
It depends, Mr. Ewing, because people just like the parent to the young lady that came today.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing on the agenda about that, but she was able to speak
Correct.
about something, and so I'm
District
I'm-
initiatives or district student-related programs, services, or activities.
where would that fall under, just for our?
Yeah, for what she
Is that a
was talking
service
about
because they're
today.
receiving
I'll
public
let Mr.
education?
Clary answer, because for me, go up. That doesn't scroll. If we could go back to that, Mr. White.
Were you doing this?
That would be nice.
Thanks, Lee.
I'd rather spend the money on
I would say that the student who commented tonight was speaking about district or student-related programs, district or student-related services, and district or student-related activities. I would
So
say
it all
easily
covered
followed.
under there.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because I don't wanna stymie anyone's voice.
If you want to scroll down. Go ahead, Ms. Lindsay. You had a point to this one.
Yeah, I just have one more clarification. So I'm going to try to be delicate about this, and if I mess up, I apologize. So if there is something that the district has not done, right? So I'm thinking back to 2020 with George Floyd and I believe a lack of a statement regarding the social justice initiatives that was going on nationwide and has been going on for quite some time. So if someone had come to the podium to talk about that, would that be covered under here because it's something that the district hasn't done?
You want me to answer, or do you want to take it, Joe?
Yes, I would say that it would fall under the category of
Okay.
equity at that point, and it would relate to a district or student, again, related program, service, or activity.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Is there anybody objecting to putting this in? Seeing as there are none, let's scroll down. And go back up. I just want to make sure the board is aware. So when you see this, we are part of the equity review is looking at gender neutral terms. So superintendent, his or her designee. We already know that a superintendent can be male or female. So it is eliminating some of the or non-binary. So it is eliminating that language. So keep scrolling. Right here. So go up. Thank you, Mr. White. Go continue. I want to read the entire section. It's 2 pages. So if you scroll up slightly. There we go. I just want to make it to 2. It's like you're going to have to straggle the pages. Does it let us get it up? Never mind. Yeah, let's go up because I want to read the entire section. I want to make sure the other way, Mr. White.
2 to number 2. Yeah, it's bottom of 2, page 2, top of page 3. Yep.
It's going to make it. Thank
There
you.
it is. There it is. We'll get it together. Thank
So
you.
speaker presentations. Speakers wishing to address the board for longer than 3 minutes must place a written request in advance with the superintendent or the superintendent designee. Speakers seeking permission to present must present their written request no later than the Wednesday preceding the scheduled board meeting. Written request should contain the reason for requesting the audience, the name and address of the speaker, whether or not they reside within the boundaries of the district, and the approximate length of time needed to make the presentation. Presentations are limited to 10 minutes. minutes and must be related to a current board agenda item, district initiative, or student-related service or activity. The board president may extend the time period if such action is considered to be in the best interest of all parties concerned. So the item, this is the current policy. The only thing that's being suggested and recommended to change is the related to current board agenda items, district initiatives, or student-related services or activities. Again, in my opinion, and I don't want to speak for Mr. McBride, there are things that are good but are unrelated to the business of the board. And then there are items which may be of the importance. I think about when Ms. Briscoe presented right on, we see in the presentation, and she went through this process, and when we see special presentations, they're also utilizing this process, just like we saw with who presented tonight, the foundation, right? So I don't personally have any issues with this language, but again, I want to hear from the board. Good. All right. Matters of public concern. Matters of public concern are those that are of political, social, or other concern to the community or a subject of legitimate news interest, a subject of general interest and of value and concern to the community based on the totality of the circumstances in which the comment arises. In both instances, the subject must be of relevance to the business of the district. Matters of public concern do not involve specific employee grievances, which should be addressed through the provisions of the employee's respective collective bargaining unit when applicable, or the board's progressive problem-solving procedures. Employee comments associated with their specific duties additionally are not protected speech.
Just a clarifying question. So the question posed earlier by Ms. Benzing, what if something happens in the worldwide, then this would actually cover that, right?
Under matters of public concern is if something related to George Floyd, right, is of public concern, then it could be used in
So
this
it would be
section
covered under
relevant.
that section if not the
Ms. Fabian was.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
My concern with adding this piece is because from what I'm understanding with this piece, not all of our comments tonight would be allowed. Is that accurate or a misunderstanding on my part?
So, Mr. White, can you scroll
up?
The other way, sorry.
So, I mean, if it applies to one, it counts. So I just want to make
Yes,
sure because that seems a bit contradictory, right?
So yes, thank you, Lee. Could you go back to that page you were just on? So I want to go back to the item on the page above, Lee.
The first blue item all the way at the top.
Number one.
There.
The one that we were talking about. Yeah, exactly. So the general rule is that under the way this thing is drafted before us today, it's a very, very broad umbrella that the members of the public can speak upon. The narrower rule would not per se narrow the general rule. The narrower rule would carve out an exception, not relative to item 1A, but a particular exception when that would relate generally to the First Amendment rights, which are not, if you will, addressed in item A, if that makes sense. Let me phrase it.
And I wanted to get feedback because I'm interpreting it the same way as Ms. Lensing, is what we're doing is we're narrowing the allowed activity. So yes, all the comments with just this first section, I agree would have been relevant. When we go down and we look at it, we would have eliminated at least one.
Right.
Well, but I'm just pointing out that the rule 1A on the screen right now doesn't limit or use the term matters of public concern. So it doesn't in any way say that before you speak it has to be a matter of public concern. It says what it says.
So in other words, it's an or, not an and. It doesn't have to comply with 1 and 3. It's 1 or 3.
Can we scroll back down?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
because I'm agreeing with Ms. Lindsay, and this is why this is important, is in both instances, the subject must be of relevance to the business of the district, right, public concern, but employee grievances, which should be addressed through the provisions of the employee's respective collective bargaining agreement. Again, and we would have eliminated, I would have based on this current policy, not allowed at least one comment that was made at public comment tonight. And so if we want to maybe reword that to address that specific concern, to make it a little bit clearer, I agree, as I believe, that they're somewhat contradictory.
So what I'm hearing is that we want to rework it to confirm what Ms. Fabian said, that it's two prongs. It's not an and or, it's an or. And secondly, you would like matters of public concern to be somewhat refined as an or, to address some of the concerns that were raised tonight relative to what some employees might have said.
Yeah, I believe that's accurate. All right. And then if we can scroll down.
If it were left up to me, my comment in terms of
Go back up. I'm sorry. That's it. That's the last one.
Right here. In terms of it to me, it seems like this this last sentence about the employees. Okay, who are we talking about? The employee comments associated with their specific duties additionally are not protected speech. Should that even be in this?
They want to remove.
From a policy standpoint, it's not a little policy.
Right, because it's under procedures and all that. It's not policy.
Well, this is an entire policy document, but I agree with your concern, Ms. Hannah. And so if you can get a question of should that be there, I think this is addressing the law, and that they're specifically saying something, right? If I'm a teacher, maybe I'm talking about somebody's student, right? That would be one where that's not necessarily, I don't want to get into it, but we'll have
So what I'm
Joe.
hearing is employee comments associated with specific duties. You're asking it to be refined to distinguish what might be a matter of public concern versus what might not be. For instance, as Mr. Ewing said, if a teacher were to get up there and mention the name of a particular student and how the student would have been acting, that conceivably under the rewritten policy would not be a matter of public concern. Whereas if the teacher was talking about perhaps disciplinary problems in general, that might be a matter of public concern. So we would refine the particular sentence regarding employee comments.
That just confused me more.
So I think, given the hour, if we can go back and tweak it and maybe bring it back as a first reading based on these initial comments.
And just to say, I remember that there was a comment where there was a time, and Mr. Ewing, you should remember this, where we got the complaint that we were not allowing people to speak.
Yeah.
Do you remember that when we got that thing from the Attorney General? And I don't want to call the name, but
You can call. They accused me of violating OMA.
Right, and so my only thing is I just don't want us to, when we're doing this, to make sure that none of, we're not going to put ourselves in jeopardy.
Understood. So you want to confirm that, which I'm sure the attorneys would, that we're complying with the tenets of OMA.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Perfect. All right, if we can get the agenda back up. So, Board Policy 3515, electric signatures, that's a first reading for 20F. I'm going to ask that any comments related to that one, that's not a discussion item. This is a first reading. So if you guys have suggestions, please get those into myself, the superintendent, and Kathy as soon as possible. Otherwise, it'll be brought back for a second reading at our first meeting in November. I'm going to go down to board member time. No. Which one?
The one that you're going to.
Oh, thank you for reminding me. So with this, moving item 19C to new business, that's the Ghost Light amended partial facility rental waiver request. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Do you want to read the motion?
Yep. It's the 19C. but you can
19C.
read it.
It is the recommendation that the Board of Education approve the amended partial facility rental waiver request submitted by Ghostlight LLC. The fees associated with the facility rental are $8,000.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Riddle, second by Mr. McBride. Comments or question on the motion?
Just to confirm, is this a for-profit or non-for-profit LLC?
LLC, it's for profit.
Just want to.
Yeah, can you answer that question for the record, Mr. Whoever? I don't care.
Mr. Alajakis can answer.
Good evening, everyone. It is a for-profit.
Thank you.
Can you ask Nick just for purposes of information to the board what the new dates would be?
For the purposes of the Board of Education, because this reflect the 14th, 15th, 28th, and 29th, do we have the new dates for this item? Everything being shifted based on the approval dates.
They did go.
No, the dates that were on there are the dates that Ghostlight moved forward with. So they did film 2 weeks ago, or about 2 weeks ago, and then they are scheduled to film again this weekend. And they filmed with the understanding that their fee waivers that they're requesting are going to be contingent upon, board approval. And if the board does not approve the waivers, they'd have to move forward with the fees that are being asked of them.
So I do want the record, so the board, please feel free to vote their conscience, as the organization is completely aware. And they took on the risk of filming, not knowing what the board would or would not do. So I have no issue with that, is if they knew while this process was under review and they decided to move forward, again, I encourage each board member to vote their conscience, and if it doesn't survive, that's on them and they would be liable. I will say, as I believe that this is good for our students, I supported it the last time, I will be supporting it again. Roll call.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Riddle.
Yes.
Mrs. McBride.
Yes.
Ms. Hannah.
I'm past them.
Ms. Lindsay.
I agree that it is a good opportunity for our students. Again, the concern is that we look at for-profits and not-for-profits, and for that reason, I'm just gonna pass.
Ms. Fabian.
I supported it last time, I'll support it again. It's a rare opportunity for our students, and I don't think they're coming out here to seek profit, but rather to give experiences to our students and our community. So, yes.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved, motion carries. All right, board member time. Ms. Hannah.
I'm past.
Ms. Lindsay.
There's a couple of different community events going on this weekend. So we have the trunk or treats at various locations. Different schools are doing it. So if you can be out in the community, just do so safely and be mindful of your surroundings. And to touch back to what Mr. Hinojosa said during his student board member time, I think this ties into it. I'm not going to have the exact right words, but I do believe that UC Davis did it very well, and it's definitely something that I would like to express as an individual. So I'm not necessarily speaking for the district, but essentially the ongoing events in the Middle East are disturbing and frightening. We've had an incident in Chicago, we had an incident in Skokie, and there's things happening in Detroit and all over the nation with regard to this. And so this does impact many people in our community as well as our surrounding communities who have family, friends, and colleagues who are suffering. So UC Davis goes on to say, while we absorb what's happening and process our emotions, let's remember, and I hope we embody this as well, that Waukegan, along with UC Davis, is a place where we emphasize belonging. It's something that we continually talk about as a board within our community, compassion and kindness. So I hope we support each other and appreciate that many of us are impacted in many different ways. So if you are being impacted by this, please refer to the student handbook. We have a volunteer crisis line, so you can text home to 741-741. We have 211 for mental health services. So if this is impacting you, please reach out and use that student handbook as a resource.
Thank you for that reminder, Ms. Lindsay. Ms. Fabian?
I echo those sentiments, especially during this week of bullying prevention. And I would just say, pray for peace if that's your prerogative. Otherwise, just promote peace in general. I just want to also remind the community, trick or treat, October 31st, 2 to 5. Be mindful of students with or children with special needs when you're. I'm sorry.
Isn't it Sunday?
Oh, Sunday. Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Yep. Not Tuesday.
No, Sunday. It's always the Sunday before. Sorry.
Sunday.
But just be mindful of children with special needs. Not all children will be out with costumes. Some kids might take longer to get candy. Some kids may be anxious and send their parents. Just be mindful, and also be mindful of the teenagers that are out there. I know my child will be one. I want them to continue to be kids.
Right.
Yeah.
And so please, don't skirt them off of your doorstep. If they want to be kids and ask for candy, please allow them to do so, because there's worse things they could be doing. So just be mindful of that. Also, Happy Dia de los Muertos. There's a lot of activities going around that November dates between the 1st and the 4th. There's a lot of community activities, too many to list. But I also want to acknowledge the Diverse Learners Department, November 2nd. They're going to have a webinar at 6:30. Please reach out to them if your student is part of the Diverse Learners Department and needs more information on transitioning to post-secondary education, employment, and living within the community. And also, our free Saturdays are beginning on November 4th, and contact Michael Gonzalez if your student would be able to participate in that. These are some great resources that we have going on, and I just think we need to continue to promote.
Thank you. Mr. McBride?
Well, back to the idea of the policy that we talked about tonight. I brought it forward because, number one, we here all by ourselves talking to ourselves right now, because people have to go home and get into bed at a sensible time. And I'm sure that we expecting our captive audience out there at home, they probably going to bed too. I got a lot of whispers coming from our board members about, this is just bad that we stand here up at 10 o'clock, sometime 11 o'clock. This idea didn't come from me by myself. I get a lot of whispers from the board members that's sitting here. We need to do something. So so we called Isby back in, the lady, for us to sit down and talk about this. And she told us herself, that's ridiculous. And so I don't know, again, it is ridiculous. And so that's the bottom line to it. And again, it's just ridiculous. And somewhere along down the line, we as sensible human beings, we ought to understand that our own self. I don't have no kids. I can really study. I'm retired. But I'm thinking about our staff, and I'm thinking not only that the people that taxpayers that voted us in, I know they want to hear what's going on, but they ain't trying to stay here all night and stay up all night to hear us rattle and rattle and rattle. So once again, maybe it's just me, but when it's all said and done, I know it's inappropriate and it's not right, and I'm not by myself. Our leader that we called in told us that. She called us out, but I got enough sense to know that it's right now 10:10, And some people got to drive a half an hour away. Then when they get there, it's almost 11 o'clock. To me, it's just a no-brainer. So anyway, if we want to continue to rattle and get in the weeds and question everything, and I guess we'll keep doing it. And I think going forward, listen to yourself sometime when you have staff come up there that's an expert in some of these areas of concerns that you question them about. Listen to yourself sometime. I don't know everything, but at the same time, we hired people to come in here and do a job, and then we're gonna question them all the time about this and about that. It's just not good. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. McBride. Mr. Riddle.
I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving, a safe Thanksgiving.
We got another month, Mr. Riddle.
What's that?
Halloween. I said we got another month.
Oh, I'm saying Thanksgiving. Yeah, it's that late. Okay.
That's how late.
That's what I'm thinking. Halloween. Yeah. So I second what Mr. McBride is saying. We certainly need to find better ways to conduct our meetings so that we can conduct this business. That's very important, but do it in an expeditious manner. Ms. Gonzalez made some very good comments tonight. Everyone here is interested in the betterment of our district, and we all certainly believe the same things about that. We just need to find ways to improve what we do. And I thank all my board members for all the time and effort they put into this job. Remember, none of us get paid for it. But anyway, have a good Halloween. Thank you.
Ms. Gonzalez.
If you don't see me this week, it is because I'm out of town. So my hearts are with y'all celebrating Halloween and the festivities. I hope it's a great time. But I'll be celebrating a wedding, a friend's wedding. So
nice.
Other than that, I'll pass.
Thank you.
Thank you all for this evening. Thank you for your time and consideration. With that, I'd like to call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Lindsay, second by Mr. McBride. All in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.